Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Hey.
Oh, hey, it's better than nothing.
How you fellas doing?
Good. Was that 76? They said that.
It's flatbread.
Okay, just a bit quiet, that's all. I'm Flatbread. Good to have you, by the way.
Hey. Good to be here. How you guys? You guys doing good?
Very well.
Good. I'd like to thank you guys for having this open channel for discussion and stuff. It's really like turned me on to a lot of things that I haven't even gave like once of a thought to.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear.
Absolutely.
How'd you find the channel?
I think YouTube. I think I was just browsing and I came across like episode like 1706 or something like that, and something got me hooked, and I was just like, damn, these guys are funny. So I just
Funny how?
found the
Like a clown? Like I amuse you?
Like I amuse you, like a clown? Like funny how?
Well, I'll say like like a lot of the ass ripping is like good, but then it's like, you know, I didn't believe in a lot of things that were being said, so I did research behind it. So it was like, damn, so okay, there is a debate, there is a topic about this. This isn't just like a bunch of grown men screaming at each other, you know?
I'm working on it.
No, it's really good. It's really good because, like, I understand the frustration that you probably have been talking to these people for more than, 2 weeks, like I've been around. So I could understand the frustration and the.
Good to hear that also. It's a bit of an acquired taste of the show in that regard. In other words, at a cursory taste, it's a bit like a good whiskey. If you've never drank whiskey, you're not necessarily going to know that it's good stuff when you first take a sip.
Absolutely.
It's a good analogy. I don't know. I was different. I acquired the taste right away. I was like, this is it. This is the show.
Yep. As soon as I watched that first YouTube video, I was like, all right, this is it.
I mean, in the last few, you gave a late number, so in the last, few months, say, I have tried to at least tone it down a little bit, so it's just a little bit more palatable. And given that there was people that applauded the vitriol I doled out to some of our opponents, that's obviously something that needed to stay to an extent. So maybe I've struck the right kind of balance as it stands. I still think it would be nice to reach the point where it's, not even PG-13, sort of universal for all.
Yeah, I understand that 100%. Because it's like, I think a lot of like the arguing gets in the way of like the real learning, and I stand firmly behind that. Where it's like the constant like you're wrong, I'm right, gets in the way of how can we come together and find this out. Like I'm not gonna rely on NASA to tell me that the world works the way it does. If I can create a group of people like you have to go further with the intelligence that we've collected as a mass, as a unit, like that's pretty much the end goal here.
Fair enough. I don't see it that way, as some unified push forward for something. But there we go. That's, more power to you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Tent.
Yeah, hey, I don't think the caller meant that. Can you elaborate what you meant by unified force and everyone gathering together and contributing?
Like, so I know there's like it's like we all see like the information coming in from like all directions and sources. So it's like trying to verify that and then being able to prove it and scientifically have it presentable for others like me who are like blank slates that want to be curious about this kind of thing. I think this would be a great platform, and I think you guys are doing a good job at being able to have people come together and not just make claims or assert, claims or whatever. People like me that live on the beach could talk to you guys and actually like perform experiments and like record them and then come back with that information to like help open up the dialogue even more instead of just relying on the YouTube videos that we're watching and the people that we're listening to.
No, you're right, 10th. I did call that wrong. My bad.
Well, the reason I caught it right away is because that's what's happened. When I first joined the show, somewhere in 2017, I recall, latter 3 months of the year, something like that, or 4 months of the year, I never saw myself being a researcher and studying celestial navigation and all the things that Brian has done separate of me, and Sleeping Warrior has done separate of me, and Arwen and Adam Meakin and John and I don't want to leave anybody out, but Eli and Chocolate. I mean, and the stories from Neil and how he came into it, giving the everyday man's version and the frustration in his voice when family doesn't listen. And it touches every aspect of somebody that's here as an audience member. And they can relate with maybe 10% of mine, 20% of somebody else's. And then on top of it all, the caller just said it, it's a tight ship that you run here, Nathan. So when we run something and we're wrong, we get called out. So it's not like echo chamber.
Mm-hmm. And like, is it Neil? Was that who's just speaking, Neil?
No, that was 10th.
10th? Okay, just like how 10th was just speaking. So it's like I never knew how to use a sextant, and then like almost all this week I've just done nothing but study on how a sextant is used. I've even considered buying one that was like a minimal scale, use or application, just to bring it on, a cruise I'm going to take in September, just for shits and giggles. I never would have thought I would have done that in all the 20 some odd years I've been alive.
Nice.
Oh, that makes me so happy when I hear that. That's exactly what I wanted, was the go from 1 seed to 1,000 seeds. Everybody doing it, and then voila, it's over for them, because you can't get an angle without a flat baseline.
I got something to say. The power of prayer.
Amen for that.
Yes. Yep.
Just on the guys and on the research, I don't know if you've noticed. I've noticed recently. You might have spoke about this yesterday. I apologise if you already have. The entertainment purposes only notes that are now coming up, but I've not noticed before. Have you noticed that?
I think I'm a little too fresh to be able to answer that.
What I've noticed is...
What'd you say? Come back with that?
I was researching some, like I do, celestial navigation info yesterday, and I'm noticing a notes popping up on it, entertainment purposes only. This video should not be considered professional advice or education. We tried to make the content as accurate as possible, but the responsibility rests with the viewer to determine the full accuracy and reliability of the content. But I've never noticed that pop up before, but it was on quite a lot of the navigation Sextant YouTube channels.
Yeah, you know why that is?
Yeah, I know.
Go on, Neil. But no, not because of us. Au contraire. Go on, Neil. What was your guess?
Well, I'm thinking it's because of us, but maybe because they have to line it up with a sphere.
No. This only became apparent when my sister laid it out for me. And she was like, yeah, of course I know how to do celestial navigation. I didn't want to die at sea. Yeah? So when you're talking about stuff that literally could kill you, this is one of them. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So the point being...
I'm just saying, I've noticed it popping up only recently myself, because I've been looking at the Sextant for a few months with you guys, and I've only noticed it the last week. I've not, so it's something new that I've noticed. That's what my point was.
Good. Because this was the point I tried to stress with Bev when I chatted to him, because he didn't necessarily understand the ins and outs of celestial navigation, what it was used for. And I had to stress that to him, this is a point, hypothetically, where you're out at sea and you don't know where you are. This is what you need to be able to figure that out and not die.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Totally understand that. Yeah. Just thought I'd mention it, guys. I just thought,
No, but fascinating point. But no one's picking up what I'm putting down. So, our flat Earth proof lives depend upon that being flat as described, to the point where the people who detail it in videos and how it functions flat even need a disclaimer that even though I'm telling you accurately to the best of my ability how we navigate using 90 degrees at the GP of the star and a fix gathered by 3 triangulatable navigator stars and their positions above the ground, even though I'm telling you that to the best of my ability, you better learn how to do it yourself so that you know how it works. Because if you don't and you just take my word for it and I'm wrong, then what are you going to do? Blame me out at sea? Or wish you'd figured it out in the first place? So better be a disclaimer below it so you don't just go out thinking that you know it after not really studying it.
I'm picking it up
it's kind of like... But go on.
Sorry.
No,
I was just saying, though, on that point, there was a little bit in the video where it did show the Earth split in half, so I don't think we can really go with that point.
Well, no, that's within the description. If they've transposed the angle to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, and that in many ways is fine, because what they then depict is a token gesture globe around the angle measurement off the equatorial plane. So in terms of the functionality, so long as the person reading it understands implicitly that the functionality that's being performed works off the plane, they can't not really, because those diagrams have it's not Dingleberry Earth in that example, but it's just a globe wrapped around a celestial sphere that extends out infinitely. And that's the bit you're actually getting your angles off of and navigating on and matching up to the maps. So long as you understand that, the globe bit wrapped around it's never going to cause any confusion that will get you lost or killed.
You talking about the sextant?
Yeah. Yeah, sextant.
Yes. Go ahead, Flatbread, but I have a question whenever you're done.
Oh, no, I'm silent.
I was just going to say on the... because I'm going to have to shoot off for 10 minutes. Just, you mentioned the Dingleberry there, Nathan. I've got a little poem on the Dingleberry. If you'd like me to read it.
Oh, most definitely.
It's only
I love poems.
It's only a short one, and it's a simple one.
Pop yourselves on mute in Discord. Hold on, we'll just get clear airwaves, and then if you can start. Pop yourselves on mute if you're not talking in Discord, please.
It's called The Dying Dingleberry. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, what are you doing there? Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, just hanging in the air. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, the angle doesn't care. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, curved angles are somewhat rare. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, your dying day has come. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, all we need is a flat horizon, angle, and GP of the sun. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, flat Earth navigation has won. The end.
That was nice.
You could drop in an extra line, and the sun's GP that's plum.
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
That was excellent.
Oh, thanks.
Am I correct here, Nathan? And basically, we've got them to the point that they're asserting that dip correction is what is the Earth curvature.
That's
in
correct.
This argument.
Yeah, essentially, it folds back on itself to 2020 1st Jan, where they now need to assert that they've got a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. The first person to fall into that little trap was Ruhif, and now I just poke fun at him. How's that geometric horizon working out for you there, Rufy? Good? Yeah, Black Swan. You haven't got a geometric horizon to do dip correction from now, have you? But that's correct.
That is first.
It's doing that because he says, after I pass the message on, he can text me himself, you know, he has got my number. So. Obviously pressing a little course.
Yeah, sorry, let me get it straight. He's confusing me taking the piss out of him with me wanting to communicate with him. Au contraire, Rufy. Au contraire.
Doesn't he know the door's open?
Yeah, the door's open, Rufy.
Well, the idea of the tangent to a geometric horizon is contrary to the celestial sphere model, too.
Boom! There he is. Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing? How's everybody doing?
Even better now you said that. Exactly. That's why that was what I was alluding to. I don't know if you were here when I said it earlier. When they draw a sphere around the equatorial plane with the arc of the heavens over it, obviously more exaggerated than the globe that they draw inside it. Well, when you're actually drawing an angle through that sort of token sphere that doesn't have any purpose in the method, it's like, so what? Doesn't actually affect how you're drawing out an angle and drawing 90 degrees plumb at the GP of the star. None of that is affected by the sphere being drawn in the equatorial plane for some unknown reason because it isn't functional.
Nathan, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pictures of Master B. If you'd like to go to it on this subject, make it clear.
If I could just
John has a way of dropping a hammer.
Hold on a second, Neil. Did you say you got one more thing you wanted to ask?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Well, because I'm just curious, because they keep asserting that it's impossible to do this measurement on a flat Earth, right, without the dip correction, right? Is it not possible for us to simply do these measurements, get whatever, and say, hey, this is the dip correction versus this is what is your supposed sphere that you're asserting?
That's what Brian does non-stop. So yes, primarily yes. You just point out what actual height of eye correction is doing. But further to that, when they start asserting it, you were the one that brought this up, right? Dip correction to what? The geometric horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, debunked 1st Jan 2020. Hello, what is it? No Atmo Day? You don't have a geometric horizon. It only exists in maths. We wouldn't expect to see it. How the bloody hell do you think you're going to be correcting for it? Why have you drawn a straight line to it in your orthographic Muppet View maths? Why have you got a straight line? Why is it no Atmo Day? No, my friends.
It also contradicts the celestial sphere model.
Boom!
That it's
there it is again.
Of.
That's what I'm saying. He has a way of dropping a hammer, that John guy.
Do you mind expounding upon that, John?
Well,
Expounding.
The celestial sphere.
What was that word you just used?
Expound.
One more time?
Expound.
Expounding on it?
Yeah.
It's an elaboration.
Which means elaborate.
Yes, it means elaborate.
Expound. Okay, that's a new one on me.
It means to present or explain in detail.
Thank you.
Could you expound on that a little
Expound.
bit?
Love it. Sorry, John. Totally segued the question to you. My bad.
Could John expand on that afterwards?
Expound or expand? Well, that's why I questioned it. That's why I questioned it.
Expand is to add additional different information. Can you expand and add more to that? Expound is to go into greater detail of the same thing to clarify it better.
Hyper specificity here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Adam, you're more than just a math guy?
We're getting further away from the question that was actually put to him. Can you expound on that, please, John? Go ahead.
Yes, the celestial sphere model is a model of your personal observation, right? It's a model of observations you make from a particular point. It's a flat plane with the celestial dome that's been you use modeling to make the sphere from those observations, but all you have is the dome, really. But it's a flat plane. Can't draw a tangent to a flat plane. You understand that? Because you can draw a line.
Hold on. Do you follow so far?
Yes. Basically, they're taking this curved sky, and putting it on the ground, essentially.
Sort of, yes.
No, they're taking the perspective. The sky's flat. They're taking the perspective you see in the sky and turning that angular differences at distance into a curve on the ground.
If you imagine a high-rise building that you're stood next to, right, like literally you've got your back against it, and you look up, right? That's going to be at your zenith. We're going to call the building at your zenith when you're right next to it. As you walk away from it, the tool that you can use has an arc. And as you're measuring the recession towards the horizon, as it recedes, the tool with a curve on it is going to show, utilising that arc of the tool, the degree difference that it drops towards the horizon as you back away from it. Well, that arc on that tool has been transposed into the ground. So rather than you backing away and measuring an angular difference off a flat plane, the only way to acquire the angle measurement in the first instance, our main argument, you say that when you move 1 degree, you're actually moving 1 degree on the outside edge of the protractor. Make sense?
Yes.
That's the magic trick. That's the trick. That's the transposition from the celestial sphere model when we're debating it currently, and you see them moving it the other way. So it's the reverse of what I've just described. Take an angle from the surface. Well, you can't do that. It's curved. But I can. Okay. I'll then move it to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, so I can then work with the flat baseline that the equatorial plane will offer me and have it match up. Because the line that's projected out to the heavens, when you draw it like that, is what we were describing earlier. Not Dingleberry Earth, but a sphere wrapped around the equatorial plane and then with lines moving outwards towards the actual measurements that you take. But as I say, that just works in reverse. They take it from a platform on the surface, which is their curved protractor. But it's like once you've done that, if you're starting at that point, there's no angle to acquire because the angles, the curve in their instance of a globe Earth is the curve of an angle measuring tool. So how are they going to get the angle to take it back to the centre? Well, they can't, is the answer, and that's why we win.
And the idea of the Earth curve calculator is a reification from the celestial sphere model. So the celestial sphere model is trying to model your perspective view that's based on observation. Well, that's already orthographic view. Why are you using another orthographic view to explain a phenomenon in a different orthographic view?
Yeah. When we said that the calculator hijacked perspective, that would be in the second step beyond an orthographic view representation of an orthographic representation model that is the celestial dome of the heavens with an equatorial plane. So you're taking that representation of an angle view you get and looking at your own head to show an arc that represents the stars moving away from you, even though you're only seeing them from one position. But the ones that are further away are around that arc. So you go, okay, that's the view that I am presented with, and this is how it's presented in Muppet Vision orthographic view. Now, if I explain that with begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, I can show how that, once moved back to the surface and removing perspective in this view, gives you an Earth curve edge. It's just nuts how deep the rabbit hole goes to get from a flat plane with angle measurements up to the surface with a perspective exclusion and a reification of Earth curve at the edge of a protractor that you used to get the angle in the first place. I mean, my God, that's a deep rabbit hole.
It is. It's layers of confiscation or whatever you would call it, and obfuscation. I apologize, confiscation. And I just want to say thank you. I think it is going to take some more time for people to really get this to settle in. So thank you for, continuing to hammer that home. And I do appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. I know it's not easy. So thank you.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, The Adam Meakin, Chocolate Saiyan, Brian's Logic, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, 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 hello.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very good to have you all. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline?
What?
Hello. What's an angle again?
Two straight lines meeting at a vertex.
So how could you ever get that from a curved line?
That's why I said what?
Say what?
Should be more hyper-specific. Two lines meeting at a vertex. I think we argued about this the other day, that straight bit's redundant. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
The idea of Earth curvature is contradictory to the celestial sphere model.
Boom! Have it, fundies. You bet your ass it is.
That was quick.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius. Let's have it, John. Let's have it.
That would be contradictory to the celestial. That would be contradictory to the celestial sphere model.
Who's rumpusing you? Pound says it's Neil.
Nope, it was Owen.
It's Arwen, get out.
What do you mean, rumpusing? You're just answering simultaneously.
How you doing, Arwen?
With your name being John.
Hold on, Adam. Do you have a good show, Arwen?
Yeah, very good show.
Subscribe today. Flat Earth Early Bird. ARWIJN. It's the channel name. Starts before the show. Couple of hours. Go ahead, 10th.
I got a question for Arwen. Is his middle name John?
No.
Okay, so he said simultaneously because you said John, say it again, and then Arwen jumped in simultaneously.
It was a good show, Arwen, weren't it? It was caught a little bit. Dingleberry, you were discussing. There's dissension, I think, in what the word means in English, whether it means a hemorrhoid or the kind of tufty bits you get around a dog's bum.
Oh, it's both.
Ew, no. I refuse to put that imagery up. There was a discussion about it. My show is just called The Season of Dingleberry Earth Picking.
If you have
the
been affected by...
dead now.
Go on,
Adam,
sorry.
I think you've just Adam, I think you've diagnosed why my dog won't sit on command now. I'll have to check that.
It's got Dingleberries.
Go on, whoever it was from Discord. Go on, whoever it was from Discord. Clearly not. Go on, John. Sorry.
The idea that there's a Dingleberry on the celestial sphere, that's contrary to the celestial sphere model.
We need to come up with a new title.
Of course it is.
We need to come up with a new title for the globe Earth that I described in the pre-show. So you've got an equatorial plane, and then the arc of the heavens, if you will, above it, with the perspective representation of the stars as they present them to yourself in the centre of the equatorial plane. But then they draw around that a surplus to requirement sphere, but it has the equatorial plane dissecting it at the equator line. Well, that's not Dingleberry Earth, right? The Dingleberry Earth is a tangent plane to a sphere below, prior to them moving the light down with justifications of parallel light rays, right? But pre-moving the globe wrapped around an equatorial plane down to Dingleberry Earth position, we need to name that. What can that be called? It's like Burger Earth.
Burger Earth.
Do you know what I mean by Burger Earth? It's like, it's the bun. The Earth is the bun. And then you've got the equatorial plane, but that doesn't really suggest the extension of the burger patty to infinitum. Is that the right word?
Nathan, I posted a bunch of slides we couldn't get to in the pre-show, and it's on this subject.
Arwen. Go ahead.
And it's on this subject, and maybe the pictures will give someone an idea of what to call it. There's, if you want to go to the first one,
I don't know if this first one is this a. I don't know what to say. Any comments? What do you say? I don't know. Go ahead, 10th.
Well, I had a suggestion, and not named 10th, I know. But what about Hot Pocket Earth? Hot Pocket Earth, right?
Hot Pocket doesn't have... Okay, there's a juicy filling, but there's no... You need something that's got the middle bit. My patty in my Burger Earth needs to extend out infinitely.
But a big whopper lie.
Big what?
Whopper lie?
No, the Whopper. The Burger King do a big Whopper burger, don't they? A big Whopper lie. Big whooping Whopper lie.
I don't like it.
All right. Let's go through the picture, see if it...
I don't know. Let's take a vote from the audience. Quick straw poll. Do we continue talking about burgers, or shall we actually let 10th do his presentation he's been trying to do since the pre-show? Go ahead, 10th.
Well, I'm just going to say what it is based on the readings and findings from the books, and then we can all, collaborate afterwards. So here's a picture I found out because how we've shown it before shows the whole Earth as a Dingleberry under a plane. This one shows a disk as a plane and only half the Earth underneath it, which means they've cut the top half and said, we don't really need that because that's a curved surface. All our measurements come from the equatorial plane as seen here with the purple edged disk. So here it is. This is where all the measurements derive from, a flat plane. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here they've got the celestial pole. The north and south is going to be obvious. If we say that top one is the north, the one at the bottom would be the south. And then you've got in the equator, which would be that top half of that Earth that we just showed without, the upper part. But the equatorial plane of that previous picture would be that equator. So it would extend from the Earth all the way to the celestial sphere in infinite distance. Of course, celestial spheres in imaginary concave, another ball with the Earth in the middle of it. And so this whole perimeter of the equatorial plane is just not the Earth. So it goes all the way to the edge of the celestial sphere. Okay, next. Here, you can see a little bit better diagram of that. So you got the North Celestial Pole on top, the South Celestial Pole. They match up with the supposed Earth North Pole, supposed Earth South Pole, but they don't show the Earth in this picture. They just show that disk again. In the first picture, I showed you the bottom half of a dingleberry with that disk. This, they even got rid of that. And then look at where the angle emanates from. The center of a plane. And here's a 30-degree angle. Because you can't get it from a curved surface. Next slide. So here's another one.
Isn't it?
What's that?
It's not a plane. It's just the observer. That whole image is, because you've taken the Earth out, it shows what it truly is.
It's coming to
the
that
center is not the center of a sphere. It's the center of your eyes.
Yeah, it's going to come to that in a minute. You'll see it. But good point. So the next one is a black and white version of it. And then it's called the horizon plane here. Well, all the way to the celestial sphere, that's infinite. It's all flat. And yet you tell me I'm using a sextant from the surface where it's curved? Impossible. Okay, next slide. I think, Adam, this one you can comment on. Visible half of the sky. It's got that dingleberry underneath it. Is this what you're talking about?
Is this the one Nathan's referring to? That's
the one after the black and white one that should be on the screen?
Well, no, this is a combination. Sorry to interrupt, right? So I'll just clarify. So on the left-hand side of the picture where you've got Z for zenith and your observer position with south and north, right? That plane is the plane that has a dingleberry Earth beneath it. However, the way this is being depicted is to assert, after this is being used as a plane to acquire an angle, that you're actually going to transpose that angle down to the centre of CEQ, which I assume is just whatever they've abbreviated, the celestial equatorial plane, or something along those lines, which is this circle. Now that circle is a plane that dissects the centre of the sphere Earth. And if I just go back to this image, this is the point that the angle is going to be measured from, out beyond the sphere to the arc of the heavens, based on the tool that you're going to be measuring and the angle you're going to be measuring with it. So you're at the centre of this Earth when the measurement is taken to, let's just say, this is the star, whatever this comet-looking thing is. Well, from the centre, your angle will come out to it, and then along the CEQ line, as they've got it labelled with a circle around it. So, just for clarity, yes, this then has a top half, let's call it the top half of the bun, and the bottom half, let's call it the bottom half of the bun, and then the actual equatorial plane that you'll be using for the angle measurements when referencing the centre of this sphere bun with this giant pate dicing it in the middle. There we go. Carry on,
Nathan, they do this quite often by angling it this way, but please notice the green dome with the green equatorial plane matching the one with the Z that's on top of the dingleberry. So you see that's that half of that celestial sphere that this has got to match. So it's a sphere within a sphere kind of a deal. So this is for confusion. It's very sublime, but you need a flat plane to get an angle measurement from. You need a horizontal. You can't do it off a curved surface. So because they have in their model many meridians, they're just showing it this way. That doesn't mean it is this way.
I was just going to say, look, that's flat.
Yes.
Well, they put a celestial sphere in a celestial sphere, and this one it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So let's move on. So now you've got a half image. This one would be, again, it's labeled North Celestial Pole, the Zenith, the meridians. This one doesn't even show a bottom half of a Dingleberry. It's just the top half.
No, but it states in the middle, doesn't it? What I was saying.
Gone.
States what's actually going off there. Observer.
Yeah, the observer, yes.
Center of a Scotch egg or anything. It's just the observer, where the observer is positioned. That's how the celestial sphere manifests above the observer.
But the observer is on a flat plane.
Always.
As shown there.
Yeah. All right.
Next slide.
Well, the sphere we're seeing is the sphere of perspective of his eye.
No,
that's why.
Right, it's confusion that's now become apparent just by your last comment. There is two spheres, right? What we have on screen now, as Adam's just detailed, is the plane we stand on with an observer view of the sky. Now, I say specifically observer view because the sky, in terms of how this is actually going to be calculable, is parallel to the ground based on how you're going to be utilising it. But given that parallel position of the sky and the lights in it to the flat ground you're standing on, when you look at something further away, it will drop towards the horizon, right? You notice how on the outside edge of this flat plane we've got a horizon line? That's where this arc meets, because that's the arc of your perspective view on a plane to the sky. In other words, there is no globe in this perspective view, right? Now, when we move over to this depiction, the representation that was actually given to you is the secondary side slanted dome of the sky. So this, did you say, I'm colourblind, is this green, did you say? I think you said green. This green dome here is the actual representation of this dome of the sky, right? And this plane that it's got marked as horizon with the observer point in the middle matches up with this line around the outside edge. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. The sphere inside it is surplus to requirements, because all you're going to do is move the angle down to this plane to actually do the angles and make them work off the plane that you're actually using. Ergo, the sphere inside is redundant. And not redundant, I keep saying that. Is surplus to requirements. This bit, however, the representation of the sky, and this bit, the representation of the plane that you're standing on, is actually what's used. So when we move back, this is my actual point I'm getting to. When we look at this view, this in no way, shape or form represents some sphere of the Earth. The only bit that's representing the Earth in this view is the bit marked observer with a flat plane marked horizon surrounding it. This is a flat plane, and this is the sky. So where's the globe bit? Well, there isn't a globe bit.
Well said.
Yeah, and the flat plane matches the flat sky. There is no sphere on the ground or even in the sky. That's the important bit for me. But I had to distinguish. You're constantly trying to, because that's how you see it, reconcile that it's curving over your head like a dome, Neil. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's flat. It's only the shape of our eyes that give the impression.
That's what I was trying to get at in the pre-show in terms of the building. So you've got a building and your back's up against it, and it's 100 stories high. You look up, that's your zenith. Then you turn around to face the building and walk backwards away from it. Now, as you do so, you take out your protractor and see that at a certain distance, it's dropped towards the horizon. The top of the building that you were seeing directly above you is now lower. Well, that is a 1 degree drop towards the horizon. Now, in terms of the height, the top of this building's never going to change. but your view to it will drop towards the horizon as you back away. Now, if you plot that out with a row of buildings running out towards the horizon, the view you get of those buildings, the tops of them, is arched over the top of you from left to right. Now, bearing in mind, I should have said this in this example, all of those buildings are the same height. You could do the same thing if you were stood underneath a bridge, a very, very long suspension bridge. Imagine yourself underneath it. As you look to your left and to your right, it will arc over you in your perspective view, and you can measure the angles to it holding a protractor underneath the bridge. But every height of the bridge all along the top of you is all the same height. But from your point of view, you've got a dome of the bridge above you? No, you haven't. That's just your perspective view. And it's no different with the stars, but when projected out from one point, the stars that are further away over a piece of land over there has dropped towards the horizon in your view. Ergo, you end up with a dome representation of how the stars present themselves to you from a single observer point with an equal distance circle all the way around you. So, as Adam has said, and we've stressed it 3 times, that means that you've got a flat line of lights presented to you.
So it's all about perspective then?
Yes, it always was. We just didn't dig deep enough when we called the perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator as such. Goes much deeper, doesn't it? Exciting, isn't it? This is how we got swindled. I love it. I'm way past
Very
it, though.
educational.
For those of you who are crapping your pants because you're a globe believer and you can't quite, and you're smart enough to follow along with this stuff, then you might suddenly have a cold shiver. For me, I just laugh. I'm long past this. It's just a folly almost to me now. I don't know about you, Adam. You're probably more into it for the mathematical brilliance of it. But to me, it's just an interesting folly how they duped the current Western world society into this religion. It's just an amusing folly to me.
Yeah, it's a challenge, particularly celestial navigation, trying to understand it, because it's all about transposing numbers. And it interests me as to show how much I got mugged off and how I'm described there. Even now, trying to think that it is a flat plane, but the way in which the number and the data has always been presented was to form a ball. So it's very interesting unpicking that mathematically and in your own head. You see how deep the programming is. Every single bit of this is building a ball, but none of it ever represented a ball, as we're finding out. Yet that's what was insinuated to us.
Okay, we're gonna carry on with 10th presentation.
I have a little bit of contention before we go on with 10th.
You can, but just give me 2 seconds to plug me. So, as I do plug it at the beginning of the show, there's the least live viewers when I do so in every single intro. But there's a live stream queue. So if, as it is the case now, we've got more participants than the room allows, you can just join the queue, and obviously I've got to pay attention, or one of my mods will pay attention and move you in and then take you off mute, so you can join in the discussion. This is an open forum, open to the public while the show is live. So while we're discussing this and debating amongst ourselves, if you just feel like you want to challenge us on anything we're saying, you can step into the arena and just tell us that we are wrong, and then we will discuss that with you. 10th and Brian, if you want to work it out amongst yourselves what I should now do, should 10th carry on?
I'll only be a moment, 10th.
No, let Brian go. Let Brian go.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Thank you. It's just going to be on what you said, Nathan. We don't view, our perspective doesn't allow us to view stars in the sky or anything as in a curve. We don't know more than we view streetlights in a row in a curve. The curve part is not from our perspective. It's added in due to the use of the arc scale. That's why they have the curve added in. It's an added in thing that isn't real. We don't have perspective that causes a curve. We don't have that. What we have is perspective that causes things in the distance to change in angle or size. You know, as a basic, we don't view things in a curve. we view things as a change in elevation or an apparent change in elevation in the distance or whatever from where our feet would be, blah blah blah. But we don't view a curve. The curve part is added in due to the arc scale. It was added in. Not real. Nobody sees things in a curve.
Indeed. 10th. I'm still on the yellowish.
Yeah. Go to the next one. I know the one you're on. Go to the very next one.
Okay.
All right. So celestial sphere equator 7 points. This is the one we're on. So he says here, now draw and label the same items on the diagram below. So basically a little work sheet on how to figure out. So I just took this image out because they're always referencing it on the flat plane. So see that disc that the stick figure is on. Just keep that in mind. We've shown it already. Now they build a ball around that. They make that the equator of the Earth, and then they build the celestial sphere around that, as you've seen already. But just realize this is it right here. This is how you get angles off of a flat plane. Next slide. So here it's a more elaborate one with all of the meridians and latitude lines on the celestial sphere, which is right ascension and declination, versus longitude, latitude on Earth, but pretty much the same purpose, grid lines. And then as you can see here, they've got the emanating from the center of the Earth, that equator, that equatorial plane, all the way to the celestial sphere. And then the angle is to the declination. So of this star there. So there's your right angle, okay? This is y minus from 90. And in this model, it gets everyone thinking they live on a globe, except you can't get an angle from that surface of that image that's the globe there. So they got to go to the center, cut it in half, i.e. the very first photo I showed, which is the Earth cut in half. So you just got to get over the imagery that is brainwashing you because you can't get an angle from a curved baseline. So
Okay.
how are they doing celestial navigation? Yeah, go on.
Okay, so this is an even better example. I'm glad these are both in the same set of slides. So in this depiction, right, we're going to be drawing out an angle, although they've managed to rub out the angle through the sphere to the centre of it, right, on this particular depiction. But nevertheless, right, you've got your angle measured from the centre of their claimed sphere. And this particular sphere takes up 100th of the scale of this particular depiction. So out to the star, 90 degrees to the flat plane that we were talking about with this diagram, right, with the yellow one. Why is it the case that in this diagram the sphere can be absolutely ginormous with a relatively small by scale arc of the heavens around it, with a flat plane that's going to be used with the Dingleberry transposition to the centre of it, right? But this globe Earth is much larger than this globe Earth. Why? Well, because it's irrelevant. It's surplus to requirements. It makes no difference if it's a giant globe Earth in the middle, with you measuring an angle out along this flat plane with the green dome above it, because you're going to be measuring it out to a point on this perspective representation of the star that you're looking at. Not to this tangent plane, to the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth with a random size. Well, that's not using the sphere. It's totally surplus to requirements. Again, in this one, same thing. Measuring an angle to a star, sod all to do with the globe Earth I'm going to dissect, even though they've rubbed out the line, and everything to do with this flat plane. So it doesn't matter. This could be all the way out to here, and you'd still be dissecting it and ignoring it completely, the sphere in the middle, I mean. Doesn't matter if it comes out to here, here, here. It's never used. The plane's being used to measure the angle. Yeah, that's your equatorial plane. So it makes no odds whatsoever. And that's why I said that the burger doesn't represent it. In this one it does. So it's just a whopper, right? The equatorial plane is just the size of an oversized beef burger compared to the bun Earth. Right? But then when it doesn't get across the point that it's so surplus to requirements that you can draw it at any size you like, and it makes sod all difference to the angle you're measuring, because the angle's coming off a flat plane. So this little tiny globe Earth in the middle of the slide we're currently on in 10th's presentation, look how big the burger bun is for that. You know what I mean?
Can I say something real quick?
If it's about burgers, definitely.
Is it fair to say that the globe is irrelevant?
In this, it is. Yeah, it's entirely surplus to requirements. There's no need for it. It doesn't do anything useful, does it? You tell me in this process, or as depicted on screen right now on the slide that 10th's got on, with South Celestial Pole, North Celestial Pole, vernal equinox, and the declination angle being measured from the centre of the sphere that isn't being used. The plane is. You tell me what use this is. The globe in the middle, I mean.
To keep people in bondage. That's all.
Well, I'd like to add to what Neil is saying. That's why they always show, and we've shown those slides, they have to draw a tangent plane on the surface of that irrelevant globe because it's not being used for anything.
Yeah, so they say that the angle that is being used, which comes from the centre, a la this diagram, right? The angle goes to the centre of the sphere. Well, they say, well, no, what we do is we draw out a great big flat plane that's got a globe Earth dangling below it, and then when we match it up to the measurements we're actually going to be utilising, we'll take it to the centre and have a giant plane extending out beyond the centre of that, and we'll call that the equatorial plane. And you're like, why? You can just take the angle from your position to a star with a flat baseline and then plot it out on a flat map to give you your fix when you do 2 or 3 of them. Well, that in no way requires or necessitates anything being done with a sphere. And the sphere that they would suggest has been derived from this angle measurement to Polaris in the first place. This representation's been bastardized into a sphere. You can't make it work and function the other way. It doesn't work. So you end up with Dingleberry Earth and tangent planes being drawn, and then a claim that the light's all coming in parallel, so it's perfectly acceptable to assume you're standing in the centre of the rock that's spherical to make it all work. It's absurd. And the reason it's absurd is because the model's been derived from a flat plane in the first place, and when you navigate on it, that's what you navigate with. So there's no sphere involved.
Yeah, we're going to see that 2 slides from now. Let's go to the next slide.
Well, just a quick shout out to Mike. Is it Mike 808? Yes, it is indeed. Mike 808 for hitting the super chat. Really appreciate your support. And there's more than 100 people watching. We hit 100 a while back. But thank you very much for everyone who shared the show. That's why we've got 100 people here. So if you've just joined, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. Feel free to jump into the live stream queue, as this chap has done, Globus. And you'll get moved into the live show if you did want to challenge us on anything we're saying. Please share the show. As I said, that's why we've got a significant audience, because the people who are regulars here do smash the share button. So if you are new, please share. Go ahead, 10th.
All right, so you need to go to the next slide, which is after that last one. With this one, local celestial sphere. This is a celestial sphere as referenced by a local observer. So Adam, you can jump in after this. At the center with the true horizon as the equator. The true horizon as the equator. Now think about that. If you're on the top of a ball, the true horizon, is that the equator? Huh. All right. Zenith is straight up. Now they're straight down. The local meridian circle runs from north to zenith to south. To prime vertical circle runs from east to zenith to west. Now, local celestial sphere for the ground observer. Where's the curve? Where is that curve? How come that's a flat disk? Anything, Adam, on your local observer? No, Adam? Is anybody there? Is anybody home?
I'll go back to the hangout to see what's going on.
Well, it has to be flat, 10th.
He's still here. He's doing something. He's at work, so...
Okay, no problem. Okay, but this is what Adam meant by local observer. So this is what it looks like. All right, next slide.
He's not there, and I'll take it he's not coming back. So you need the point re-stressing, because otherwise he'll get lost in that little bit of... Yeah. So Adam's point was to say, I can't remember which slide he said it on now. I think it was this blue one. It's like, well, all this is depicting is the observer, as it would be. There's no need for a sphere in the middle of this particular diagram. And then we got to the yellowish one where Adam's like, yeah, there it is, right? Observer. This is all about your observation and how you see things. And then you move on to the next one, and it's like, well, even though they've cut out the line that moves to the centre of the globe that they've slapped in the middle of your observer view that's not being used for anything useful, you've still got an observer view with your equatorial plane represented as the view that you get out to the heavens with this giant dome around it, right? So that's where we're at. I just wanted to just re-stress it, as that's where Adam was intended to come in, but he's obviously got waylaid with something. So
yeah, no problem.
Go ahead, Adam, 10th.
Yeah. Go to the next slide. I think one of your favorite ones.
Straighten this out. Did you not get my straightened out version?
Well, no, I'm still using the original, but if you want to put yours up,
no, it's fine. Carry on.
No, I'll let you do it because I think you caught on to this. But there's that plane right there, so that surplus Dingleberry Earth is not necessary, right?
Yeah, if they don't get quizzed on this is just how it would be used, because essentially you've got a completely surplus to requirement Dingleberry Earth, and then the view that you get, as you can see from a guy on his back in the depiction, is to his zenith, which is directly above him when he's lying on his back. And then let's say there's a star over here, it'd be the angle he would measure along the flat baseline to the star to get its GP on the ground. Well, on the ground is the plane that's being drawn out above. That's what's going to be used if you're doing celestial navigation. So in this case, you've got Dingleberry Earth that's completely useless. Now, upon pointing that out to an anti-flat earther or a globe believer, they say, well, no, once we've taken this angle from a flat plane that isn't the ground that I believe the world is, I can move that angle that isn't acquirable off the surface of a sphere down to the centre and actually claim that that's my equatorial, i.e. the outside edge of my sphere, plane that extends out infinitely beyond the sphere that is now completely redundant. But I'm sitting in the middle of it with this angle that I've taken from a flat plane that has nothing to do with the surface I'm now claiming when I move the angle down. And then you go, well, why have you moved the angle down? Well, because all light comes in parallel. And you go, have you ever looked at a sun? Ever? Because no, it does not. Oh, yeah, it does. Because if I put it in orthographic Muppet view, where you see the side of your own head, and I assume that the sun, based on a model that's been derived from a flat plane elevation angle acquisition into a sphere, and then that presupposition being used with the presupposition that Venus is the same size as Earth, gives me a distance to the sun that's absolutely astronomical, therefore all light is parallel, therefore it's perfectly acceptable for me to take an angle off a flat plane that isn't the surface of Earth that I think I'm standing on, and move it to the centre of it, because all light's parallel. Perfectly acceptable. You all following along with this? Yeah, because that's what you have to do if you're on a sphere, bearing in mind that none of it's necessary and you can just do it on this bit depicted in this diagram, which is a flat plane with the perspective representation of the stars that you see in your periphery represented on a dome. I thank you.
Okay, there's a lot more to this slide. I'd like to elaborate, if I may. See that guy laying on his back, looking up to the sky in the center of that disk and that tangent plane? That's where have we seen this before? Isn't it shown as a line on top of a sphere? And then they say this corresponds to the center if light comes in parallel. That's how they've done it. But watch this. That horizon extends to the infinite celestial sphere. There is no curve. There is no geometric dip to a curving Earth here. That means everything from his back to all sides, he can't see any stars underneath that disk. They haven't risen up yet. It's a whole flat plane all the way. Where's the curve?
There isn't
Shouldn't
one.
this be No, there isn't one. But if you live on the ball, this should match what the ball would do.
That's correct.
But the ball doesn't do any of that because the ball is a surplus. All they did was say, look, let's call the Earth a ball. This is how it's done on top. It goes all the way. So how do we do that on the ball? Well, we can't do it at the top, so let's take it to the center, because then we cut the Earth in half, i.e. the first image I showed you, and we get the same results, because if we say light is from stars and suns are so far away that they come in parallel, then we can use a corresponding angle, and we'll get away with it. Sorry, you got lots of problems here. Number one, that plane that we see extends all the way to the celestial sphere, and there's no bend in it. So you can't use the celestial sphere for your ball. This is where John comes in. Pretty embarrassing for them once you study celestial navigation.
Yep. It's using a plane. And
the plane extends all the way with no curve. That's why they have a tangent plane that doesn't curve on top of a ball every time they want to show an angle.
On your last slide?
Yeah. All right. Celestial sphere image, courtesy of Lunar and Planetary Institute. What is the celestial sphere? In astronomy and navigation, the celestial sphere is an imaginary sphere of arbitrarily large radius, concentric with Earth. Do you see how they do it? All objects in the observer's sky can be thought as of a project upon the inside surface of a celestial sphere, as if it were the underside of a dome. The celestial sphere is a practical tool for spherical astronomy, allowing observers to plot positions of objects in the sky when their distances are unknown or unimportant. So there's your distance reference. So what did they do here? They took a flat Earth.
Oh, no, sorry.
They took a flat Earth, right? They took a flat Earth, and they said, how can we make it a globe? And they figured out how to trick people. That's all it is. But when it comes to actual measurements, you can't get an angle measurement from a curved baseline.
That's the key word, trick.
Yeah, it is a trick. It's a magic trick to turn a flat angle measurement into the curve of the tool you measured it with. Taking
in this
flat baseline and making it spherical.
So wrapping it up, in this last slide, you can see the celestial equator is matching the Earth's equator and extends all the way to the far reaches of an infinite celestial sphere. If you go one slide before, which is the black and white one, you could see that instead of matching the equator on this one, it's on top of a ball. The ball is a surplus, doesn't belong, can't work with celestial navigation. End of presentation.
Thank you, Tim.
The ball is irrelevant.
It is. It's useless in this regard. And at the last page of the Fundy written, globe-believing celestial navigation manuals, they will sometimes disclaim that with a lot of tricky maths, you can transpose the flat Earth elevation angle measurement and utilization of that flat plane to gain your fix, i.e. your position if you're lost, into spherical systems that have been derived from the angles in the first place. And the disclaimer will say it's not done. It could be, it's complicated, but it isn't. And it's not required. It isn't how it is done. So yeah, we can admirably go through this stuff because it's what our opponents on the anti-flat Earth side throw back at us. But as I say, this comes on page 57 of a 57-page document that will describe acquiring 90 degrees to the GP of a star on a flat plane with the arc of the heavens and the angles to them, giving you those measurements on the plane to find where you are. They make it very explicit. So yeah, we're going through the minutiae because this is what you'll come up against if you just throw it out there without knowing that, yeah, they do have a way, a very complicated way, of going from this to this to this to this. That's a complicated process. And by the time you get to here, with a tangent plane and a Dingleberry Earth and a transposition and parallel light rays, your head's going to be spinning. So this is, this is high-level stuff. But for anybody who's like, we need more information, we need more input of flat earthers, and I want to know more about how it's come to pass and why did they lie to us? Okay, well, while we can't divine the thoughts and motivations of the people who've done this, we can show you how they've done it. This is how Earth as a flat plane has been turned into a sphere. This is the birth of the globe.
Just to top it off, I got 2 more slides and then we'll finish, because this has to do with sunlight coming in parallel and part of yesterday's discussion as well.
Okay, I got your dog cam up.
Yeah, so this is a doggy cam or dog cam. You can see a hot spot of the sun there. That's very interesting. If light is supposed to be coming in parallel, and yesterday we had a caller say that he was told by a ball earther that the only one ray of sunlight is hitting the Earth. Well, why isn't the whole Earth the same image here, this hotspot? The whole Earth should be this hotspot then. But it's obviously, this is where the GP of the sun is. The sun is directly over that spot. And you'll be able to get an angle to it from a flat plane. Go to the next slide.
Wait, that doesn't look like a super GP to me.
Super GP. There we go. This next slide is my personal picture I took. I took this picture. You see divergent corpuscular rays here. Now, where is this parallel rays that they need for the for the correspondence of an angle from a tangent plane on top to match the center of the Earth equator plane? It doesn't exist.
They're not there.
Celestial navigation dies instantly, the globe version of it, when there is no parallel sun rays to deceive the audience that you can have a corresponding angle from the center as well as the top. The center is flat, the top is curved, but they need a tangent plane at the top to even get there. So they are adding in stuff, saying the sun does something the sun doesn't do, and we all observed divergent rays never parallel.
Perfect. Thank you, Tenth.
You got it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, I'm going to label this show "The Birth of the Globe," because that's what we're going through, basically, isn't it? We've gone beyond the point where we can pummel a fundy into oblivion by just asking them how they acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline. That's the end of the argument in this regard. But it does open it up for us to have endless discussions, which are fascinating, with people, I think, again, discussed in the pre-show, with like minds going, well, how did this actually happen? And I forgot who it was now. Was it Flat Earth Data that came in that showed us the sort of 1800s navigation books where they were showing how to get more accurate horizon measurements, and they'd basically got the equations for globe Earth and the geometric horizon, but with absolutely no mention of Earth curve, just talking about how to better accurately estimate where your horizon's going to be at a given distance based on a given height. You're like, oh, this all sounds familiar. No mention of Earth curve, though. None. You're like, oh, right. So that's where they got the maths then. You're like, just recycle. It's so psychopathic. Just recycle and regurgitate stuff over and over again. So it doesn't surprise me. The world's run by psychopaths. So for them to
like that.
Regurgitate and recycle it. Sorry, Neil, go ahead.
I said I like that. The birth of the globe.
That's what we've detailed on this show.
Well, I remember chocolate.
The curve adjacent thing.
Say again about curved adjacent thing.
Yeah, so I was just trying to think about what if there's a curve that you can acquire an elevation angle from, and my mind is just thinking I remember, I don't know if it's called a parabola, but I remember in high school we did some graph where we made a curve, and then the curve, once it starts extending out past the vertex of the curve, it gets infinitely closer to the y-axis, and it appears to be straight, but it's actually curving. So now if you took a protractor and put it on there, you could measure an angle. So
no, you can't. So
it would be it appears straight though, right?
Hold on. Okay. Well, I appreciate what you're saying in terms of how you perceive that which is drawn as a parabola as being straight at a certain point. Okay, I get you. However, what is an angle?
Yeah, it's two straight lines.
Stop. Does that which you have just described, Derek, meet that criteria or not?
It doesn't, but it appears to, as I can observe.
Appears, and that's what we're dealing with when we're dealing with the absolutes in terms of this sort of geometry and mathematics. Is it a good enough? No, it's a very binary thing in this regard.
I think you would put your protractor on it. But you could create a 90 on it. It would appear to be a 90. So
appear to be, and it being are different things, though. So in modelling terms, this is something that Rob Durham did. It doesn't matter how big you make it. He's done it scale model with a sphere. You try and get an angle from it, and it just says syntax error because it's two straight lines. There's no, oh, well, it's almost good enough. I mean, this is the interesting part of our discussion currently, Eric, because our opponents try and argue with me, like you are now, about how flat it could be. Well, it's almost flat enough to do celestial navigation. You can take it as being flat. It's like, hello, shouldn't you be arguing with me about how curved it is, rather than appealing to me about how flat your sphere fundy belief is? Don't appeal to me about how flat it could be when it needs to be and is an angle that's being measured. Very clearly defined, very binary thing. You've either got it or you ain't. You ain't if you're on a sphere. So what's your solution? Oh, it's really flat, my sphere. Look how flat my sphere is. It's idiotic.
Hey, Nathan, do you have or remember what episode that was where the guy had the CAD program and he tried to model?
It wasn't a program.
Earth?
I don't think it was. I mean, we did show it, but it's Rob Durham's video, so just go to Rob Durham's YouTube channel.
Rob Durham, okay.
Or you'll have guys like Richie Ruggs in chat say, Earth is round, but the ground is flat. Thank you very much.
Earth is round, but the ground is flat. No, that's double speak. Yeah? The ground is flat. Yeah, that's the bit we deal with. The Earth, well, you're superimposing the word Earth, meaning ground or soil, into globe Earth, your model. So the globe Earth is spherical, but the ground we actually stand on is flat. Richie Ruggs is in cognitive pain at the moment. He's claims to be a normie. But he's here out of intrigue telling us how stupid we are, but simultaneously doing a lot of the examples I'm giving while I'm giving them, which is to say he's appealing to us for how flat his sphere is. How amusing.
He's not only here on this show, on every show you put up, he's there.
Yeah, bless him. Subscribe today. Become a member, Richie. Support this channel. You're obviously addicted.
Can I present what or talk about what I'm going to present?
I'm so sorry, Brian. I completely forgot. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I want to be a couple of minutes. I just want to get in there before the end of the live show. Okay. So if we look at here, this is the celestial sphere model, okay? We have this line here that's an angle, would be an observer's viewing angle from this point here. So if we imagine this one up here, just make it a bit bigger. Let's make this one, right? And color it just different, right? If you imagine this red one here is Polaris. This person standing at the north pole, and Polaris is to their 90, let's say, right? They will have an angle all the way down to 0, which would be at the equator line of the sun. Now, that would be 5,400 nautical miles, right, of distance from here out to here, right? Now, it may not be fully represented here, but that's what it is, right? Because the reason it's not fully represented is because this arc is not real. It's not in reality. It's not there in reality. But either way, the point is that this would be 90 up, or this is up to Polaris, and this would be 5,400 minutes of degree out to 0, which would be would be the equator, right? The equator line. But what is not, because people are concentrating on this curved part outside, what's not being seen is that's their angle of view to a star. The star at this point here, when it gets to the equator, is then at basically what would be mean sea level for them. So if they're standing looking at a star, someone standing looking at a star, and there's another star at the zenith, doesn't have to be Polaris. So at our zenith, there's a star, and then there's another star at the horizon. Then what they're seeing is that star basically meeting mean sea level, right? That's what they're seeing, right? Now, the celestial sphere model shows this arc, which is just based on the arc of the arc scale within the sextant and that. But in reality, what you're dealing with is a view 90 above you and all the way down to 0, right? Or out to 0, let's just say. But the same then, if you take away the circle, it's exactly the same, right? There is your 90, there's a star. I just make this a bit bigger for the audience. I'm going somewhere with this just in case you think I'm not. This green one here, that is your 90, is a star above you. And you have an angle all the way down to 0, right? If you're standing with your feet just at the ocean, this 0 will be mean sea level for you, right? So, in reality, this green star here, right, will be at your 0. This red star here will be maybe 15 or 20, 15, maybe 10 degree angle to you. And this purple star down here, you won't see it all. You will not see that because you can't see down through the ocean, right? You will only ever see as far as this. And that would mean that this star's GP position is 5,400 nautical miles away from you, right? But that's because you're gone from a 90 above you down to that. Now I'm going somewhere with this, right? This is about the celestial sphere. So the problem with this for the globe is this. They need you to be seeing stars. If I move this, they need you to be seeing stars that are all the way down here. But you'll never see anything like that. And out here, let's just say what they do is they do this and they move all these stars way far away. But it don't matter. You will never see anything below. If you're standing with your feet on the ocean or a boat close to the ocean, you will never see anything below mean sea level. You will never see below mean sea level. So anything that's down below mean sea level, you will never see, right? You'll never ever see that. You'll only ever see things that are at mean sea level. That is your 0. That's how it's defined. Your 0 is defined as whatever your horizon is. Right? That means you'll never see anything below your horizon point. Regardless of how far away it is from you, if it's below that point, you're not going to see it. End of story. You will not see that. So this proves that there is no possible, this proves that even the celestial sphere model has absolutely nothing to do with a globe Earth. Because even in the celestial sphere model, it shows a 90 to 0, something you can't have on the surface of a sphere. You can't have a 90 to 0. Can't have that.
That requirement, Brian, to see from where you are to at 90 degrees down, when you have to move the triangle back down again for me. Yeah, so down that is part of the claim that they're making, that this is what you're able to see. When I did that impossible moon phases, I should probably bring that up because this is pertinent to this. The only way in which you can make it work is if you have that vision as well. Otherwise, the moon phases are impossible. But within their modelled claim, you see, you're able to see there. The night sky is represented there, which is, to me, that's the weakest part of their another weak part of it. That their claim denies reality on just common sense. As Brian says, look, really, you can see there, even though you've already admitted by drawing your tangent what you can see. But that's how they do it, and then transpose it down. Like I said, same for the moon positions, Brian.
Yeah, exactly. This is what they're claiming you can do. They're claiming you can do this. And this would be, if you're standing on their globe Earth, this would be looking directly through a geometric globe Earth. This is what they're claiming you can do. It doesn't, they want to move it as far away as possible. If I try and move it, sorry, hold these away. And they want to say because these are moved away, that you will be able to see them. This is what they want to claim.
Is it above or below 0? It's below 0 line. It's
below 0
angle. Yeah, so it's not.
Always going to be a minus angle. Yeah.
You zoom right in. Now zoom up to the actual observer, and you see how impossible that line becomes. Because look.
Yeah, it's going through. Even on a globe, it's going through so globe or flat, you can never see below that point.
No.
This is why our claim is ridiculous.
Below what? Sea level? 0?
Well, yeah, that's the lowest point you can see. You can't see anything past sea level. That is the lowest point we know of. That's always 0.
So sea level would be level, whereas the sphere Earth would have a geometric horizon falling away at 8 inches per mile squared. observable at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. The geometric horizon we debunked in 2020. So they don't have that, but what they do have is a perspective view that gives you a zero line, and that references things like sea level. Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, that's the point, that these stars have a fixing when you move it to the centre of the Earth below the sea level. Look. They're then attributed below that line because they're taken to the centre of the Earth. But that's why where they're trying to place them in the first place on the ball, that makes it. This is the point that makes it impossible. Look, that line.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit the PayPal link and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a Premiering stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
That's it. 0 is baseline. Baseline is flat. You're not going to see through it.
Excellent. Excellent. Very educational. This show right here.
I mean, we're at a point where if you just have an understanding of the black swan and celestial navigation, those are the only two things you need.
That's correct. That's correct.
They say one thing, the black swan kills them. They say the other thing, celestial navigation kills them. And it's both their models.
Yep.
I may as well go into this because this is their most recent claim. If Nathan is back, I'll go into this just briefly while I have it on the screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to present it later.
It's on.
Before you go,
it's on.
Before you go, let's label it right. So the people who died on the globe, because there is no globe, have a most recent claim, but they're dead. Go on.
Okay. This is a claim that has come at me in the past few days. What I did in the past few days is I wanted to show, as one of the things, it's not the full one, but one of the things I wanted to show was what I wanted to use angular size change from an observer in orthographic view. So the point I was making, right, because I wanted to be able to keep everything on screen, I used this Eiffel Tower piece here, and I had about 4 or 5 of them of different heights, all slanting down and then slanting up. So the point I made was that the angle to this for this one here from the observer is 12.4 degrees, right? Now, if that moved back for the observer, it would change in angular size. So then it would be, if it moved back that far, so it has that much of an angular size, it would be 3.8 degrees. So my point being is that when you're looking at something in its angular size, you're not looking at it in its actual size as an angle, right? So what I was getting at was this, right? I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I'll make this one here, just 1 second now, just a bit smaller, right? Now, the point I was making was this, right? Now, this may not be exactly where I just moved that to there. Was that in the Blackpool photo, right? The point I was making is we are seeing things in their angular size. So the tower, even though now the tower is closer to the mountain in angular size than this, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to show. This is the tower, let's just say, in angular size from the observer. This is the mountain. And the mountain in this depiction has a much bigger angular size than it does in reality. But that won't matter. My point being is that when you're looking to the top of the tower, the fact that the angular size of the mountain is so much smaller, that even though in this depiction where it's bigger, and even though it only has a 0.06 of a degree angular size bigger than the tower, the point I'm making is you're still not going to be looking at the top of the mountain. Because in orthographic view, when you do this, you hit the top of the mountain with your eye line, right? When they do it in orthographic view. But in angular, when you're looking in perspective view, the angular size changes. So just like Nathan, as you said before, if you're standing looking at a lighthouse right next to it, you're looking straight up at the top of it. You move 2 miles away and you're only barely tilting your head to look up to the top of it. Do you know what I mean? Because it changes in angular size, so your angle to the top of that lighthouse will change. But they want to try and keep everything in orthographic view. So I just pointed out, and this is what's really annoying them. I pointed out that when there's an angular size change, even though the foreground object is a smaller angular size than the background object, your angle to the background object is changed. Because when you're looking over the top of the foreground object, you're not seeing it. Like you're not from your point. For you to see the top of the background object, you have to literally do this. So this is even in orthographic view. I'm showing this. You have to look through or past the foreground object to see it, right? Now, they had a problem. Right? I'm going to get into this now. Now, these two are the same size, and we're going to make this one slightly smaller, right? Now, my point, I started off my video showing how this angle to this one here, because it's closer, is 12.3 degrees. And this one that's further, that's the same size as this one. They're both same size, actual size, but their angular size has changed. So my angle to this one is 4.47 degrees. Now, I was trying to show on screen here like this, just trying to show and explain how angular size will change your angle, let's say, right? That was my point. But I've been accused of cheating, right? Because according to Reification and basically all the other borders, I can't say all of them, there's one or two no, I haven't stated it, but most of the rest of them that have been on my channel, they say that we still have perspective in orthographic view. They say that the angle to this is 12.7, and then the angle to this one here, even though it hasn't, right, is 6.6. But what they don't understand is, yeah, the angle to the far one is different, but there isn't, right, in orthographic view, there isn't an apparent angular size change. Nothing has changed in angular size in orthographic view. Your angle to the object more to your left here is, the angle to it has changed, but it's the same size. Nothing changes size, its angular size or its actual size in orthographic view. It can only change its angular size in perspective view. And they're claiming that this is the same as an angular size change, right? Because the angle to it has changed. It's like, no, in orthographic view, there is no angular size change. There is an angle change to the top of the object, but the object stays constant in size. And this is what they're trying to say. They're trying to say to me that this is the same as angular size change. But it's not the same as angular size change, because we see it. We're still seeing it orthographically as the same size as it was. The whole point of angular size change is that there's a change in its angular size. This does not depict a change in angular size. It only depicts a change in angle. But they're trying to claim that this is the same as angular size change, and so there is perspective in orthographic view. That's their claim.
Cool. Thank you, Brian.
So it's all about perspective, right?
Brian, I didn't quite understand that. Would you mind running through that again?
Very funny.
Good job it wasn't a long explanation, eh?
Yeah, but do you get the point? That they are trying to see. They need perspective to be in orthographic view, so they can show in orthographic view how things don't work on a flat plane. That's what they need. But in reality, due to perspective view, the angular size of something will change. They're trying to state that it's all the same if the object stays like. I'm just going to go out. If we kept this object constant in size, and right, that your angle to it will change. Yeah, but the size doesn't change in orthographic view. They're trying to say that there's an angular size change in orthographic view. That's what Reification and the rest of them are saying. It's like,
so it's only actual size.
Yeah, but like none of them understood that the whole point of the video was to explain. So I had things smaller. Let's just say I do this, right? Right. There's a smaller Eiffel Tower. So to the observer, it's lower in their angle of view. Yes, it's the same size as this angle, same actual size as this Eiffel Tower. But they don't. They're like, I've been accused of double dipping. Right? That's what they accuse me of. Double dipping. The cheek of them accused me of double dipping.
I think I might be wrong, but is the short version of what you're saying simply angular size is at a set distance, whatever that distance is? You have to identify the distance. You can't just say it's 30 degrees or whatever, because at 30 degrees could be all infinite distances, and the angular size would remain the same for all distances. Isn't that what the short condensed version of what you're saying is?
Well, yes and no. I'm also pointing out that the ballers are claiming that there is perspective view in orthographic. That is their actual claim. Ruhif is claiming that we see perspective in orthographic view. That's what they're claiming. That because there's an angle change to the top of this one from the top of this one, then that means that there is perspective in orthographic view. Because they need us to accept this so they can use orthographic view to try and kill observations and different things like that. So this is where they're at. They're trying to claim that but there is no perspective view here.
I was just going to say that. There is no perspective in orthographic view, right?
But that's what they're trying to claim. That's why there is an orthographic view and a perspective view. But they're trying to claim that this denotes a perspective view because the angle to the top of this one is different from the angle at the top of this one, but because it's further back. But there's no change in angular size.
But what angle? There's no angle. All they've got in terms of their depiction is one straight line between you and the target. So there's no angle. The way you know there's no angle is because the size. So in this depiction, right, you've got two Eiffel Towers. Well, the two Eiffel Towers in the curve maths are going to be given at whatever it is, 100 feet. They're both 100 feet. So it doesn't matter how far the one on the left gets pushed further away from the observer, it's still 100 feet in their maths. So when they say, oh, it includes perspective, all right, well, that would be an angular size change, the apparent size. Well, your calculator doesn't have apparent sizes. It has actual sizes, feet and inches or meters for the targets. So the targets aren't changing with distance. That's angular size. They stay the same with distance. That's feet and inches.
Exactly. On their model, this one has a lower, on their model, this one here is a 12.5 degree angle. Right on their model, right? That's the angle, the viewer's angle to the top of it, right? And this one here is an 8.1 degree angle. That's the viewer's angle at the top of that. But the reason that one is lower is because it has sank below the Earth curve, and that's their claim. But they're trying to argue.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what their actual claim is because there is no perspective view. So all angular size change in their model is that something has gone below a geometric horizon. So this is a completely moot point because in their model this is supposed to have happened. Not that you can take an angle to something across a flat plane and change it and it'd be a different angle.
The problem is there is no geometric horizon. So what the hell are they talking about?
Well, this is the problem. This is why they're trying to. They're anti-flat earthers. They're just trying to attack flat Earth. You know,
the problem I see, Brian, is that they can't even achieve step one, which is get an angle from a curved baseline.
There you go.
No, they can't. They can't, and all they're trying to do is basically major on the minors. I mean, for the ease of explanation, I showed a change in angular size like that, just trying to extenuate what the observer would see, right? And I was accused of double dipping. Now, not that I care what they accuse me of. But I was accused of double dipping, right? No, there was already an angular size change when you move it back. But they're missing the point. There isn't an angular size change. There's a change in angle, but not a change in the thing is still the same actual size, but there's no change in angular size.
That's right.
But what they're forgetting is on their model, this doesn't happen at all, right? The reason that on their model, the reason that this is lower is because it's gone below a geometric horizon. Yet they're trying to. This is the argument they're trying to have at the moment, like this with me. What a pointless argument. You know, you're supposed to be proving the globe, you dopes.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean? Thanks. I'll unshare it now and then.
No, very good again, Brian. Here's the problem. Still, when we first came out, we said Sexton could only work on the flat Earth because it can't have a curved baseline. Then they came out and said Sexton can only work on a globe Earth, and then they came out and said, well, we need that tangent plane for it to work on the globe Earth because we got to measure a flat first before we reify it into a globe and say we got it from the center. So I suppose all these measurements of the Eiffel Tower came from the center of the Earth as well.
But see, there you go. I mean, I don't see the point of me arguing that point because it's like, how is this proving your globe? I mean, for a start, they're wrong. There is no angular size change in orthographic view. The whole point of angular size change is that it's a perspective issue. We never say, can I buy orthographic view glasses? No. Do you know what I mean?
Hold on.
You do a glass.
Man, use it by its real name.
Elvis had some glasses that would angle.
Muppet vision.
No, you can't see the side of your own head.
Yeah, well, that's the point. You're never going to see things side on. That's why side on is only ever two-dimensional. It's only ever on a computer screen or a piece of paper. You never have three-dimensional with orthographic view. You can't.
The best was when that guy came on swearing that he had that experience. I experienced it, but this is the only way I could draw it out.
Yeah, he experienced perspective, and then he tries to draw it out.
When we asked him, did you actually see it like this? No, but this is the only way I could draw it out. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the guy.
They're all tripping.
Bring up a little video I've just made and published as a short video. Hopefully I can get it onto my PC before a long, protracted silence. Talking about yourselves, it's taken me longer than I thought.
Very educational show, by the way. Good job, guys.
Thank you, Neil.
So anyone in Discord right now?
Brother.
So I got a question. Go on, brother.
I got a question, and I'm going to get it in. So, just one question: did somebody say surplus Dingleberry?
I think I did. Maybe.
OMG!
The Dingleberry's dead.
Surplus Dingleberry. I'll tell you what, gentlemen. That's what I woke up to. A surplus Dingleberry.
Did you get the poem on the Dingleberry?
They're in your
Sounds like a personal
You can
problem.
get them 50% off now.
Hang on. We got a poem on the Dingleberry if he wants to do it again.
Yeah. Can do it for you guys.
Feel free.
It's a poem, and it's called The Dying Dingleberry. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, what are you doing there? Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, just hanging in the air. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, the angle doesn't care. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, curved angles are somewhat rare. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, your dying day has come. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, all we need is a flat horizon, angle, and a GP that's plumb. Oh, Dingleberry, Dingleberry, flat Earth navigation has won. The end.
Awesome.
All right, you got the plum part in there.
Absolutely epic. Can you guys see the video I've just posted?
That was awesome.
Yeah, I see the link for it.
Just check it out. So, on...
I can't see anything.
Well, it just shows that particular clip came from a little, I don't know what you call it, a little button-based program that shows you an elevation angle. And the reason they've got it in the program is to show you how to get photovoltaic cells to work correctly. So they show how a sun rises over a flat plane, and how you can measure the angle to it with 2 straight lines on a flat plane. It's just a little animation that shows that. It's just one of the citations that I post about 100. I've posted it to MC2 80 times.
I remember that. It's a good one.
PV education or something. Sorry, go ahead, Neil.
No, I was just going to say McBoogerita, not MC.
Whatever. He's had it in citation form a number of times. So I've just posted it as elevation angle, #shorts, and then in the description, the Earth is flat.
Interesting how that needs a flat disk baseline for it to work.
Well, how else is it going to work?
No, I'm just saying. It's just they need that portable tangent plane. They need always. I mean, this is so over for these people. They can't say triangle. They can't say 90. They flat baseline. They run away like a vampire.
So Virus said about yesterday, he said he was not going to get into the definition game. Definition game? I mean, aren't definitions the most relevant thing? We need definitions.
Yeah, see the Socratic method.
If you don't get into the definitions game, it means that you can think of a straight line as a curved line and nobody's there to correct you with your nonsense.
Well, if you're not getting into definitions, why are you using words again?
Exactly. So in essence, he wanted to say how Nathan does not understand Coriolis, but he did not want to define it to prove that Nathan does not understand Coriolis. Well done, Virus.
So long as they chant it in text, enough people will start to believe and accept it.
Yeah, it's a hit and run baseless assertion fallacy.
Yeah, but he's exposed when he comes on here and says, I don't want to play the definition game. Now you're exposed. So if you're still falling for that nonsense in chat, then serves you well.
I vaguely remember Rachie 00000 falling victim to that bitch.
I'm sure you got a name wrong then. It's actually Rachie 00000.
Nathan, can you play the clip ongoing and on your show of that? Because that's a beautiful GIF.
What clip? What, the GIF that I've just played?
Yeah. Just leave it on.
Oh, right. Yeah, it just doesn't fit nicely on my screen because I've published it as a short. So it just doesn't look that nice. I've got it up at this second as I'm speaking about it.
We need a GIF that keeps on giving.
This is it. Sorry.
Yeah, well, there it is. So it's just, that's how the sun appears to you from your vantage point and how you can measure an angle to it. This is letting people know how an elevation angle works. Here it is. That's what it is. See how that line along the bottom stays flat the whole time and isn't curving away from you? Yeah, that's because it's flat. Very good.
Yep.
It has to be.
Very good, very good. So anyone in Discord, any baller embarrassed for their globe want to come and defend it?
Don't like definitions.
That's okay. They can come here and then they can say they don't like definitions and then we can excuse them.
You don't like 90s either.
No straight lines.
90 kills.
I put it in Discord.
Nice. I think this will just drive them mad. Just play it 24/7.
I don't think Arthur understands.
Getting flatter. by the day. It's getting flatter.
The Earth is getting flatter by the day.
I see why someone had you on server mute. Truth be told. Truth be told. Hello? Yeah, go good. He's cottoned on.
Quicker than most ball earthers.
Nobody wants to come out and play?
I don't even know if there's any globe believers in there.
They're a thing of the past? Are they a thing of the past, Nathan?
Globe believers? I don't know. I really don't.
There's globe believers everywhere, up and down the street. Right? It's the anti-flat earthers that are on the circuit, though. Is that where you're going with this?
He was, but I wasn't going to expand it out in the way you have. I wanted to keep it vague.
Fair enough.
I don't know where we are transitionally. If I am, as I do sometimes, lead myself to believe that this is the tip of the iceberg that's melting, if you will, then there's going to be a transitional point in general everyday society. But based on what I know and the history that's presented to me, it seems to be the case that they'd have an alternative paradigm well and truly established, and we might just start witnessing their flat, I don't know, parallel universe reality expand into the consciousness of the Western world, i.e. our brethren on the street that you describe, as time progresses. So, I don't know. I know that there isn't a globe beneath my feet, and I know that information, I don't think they have managed to, if they were trying to, suppress it. And I think they could if they wanted to, and haven't. So, they don't mind it being out there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the new paradigm that people take on, though. I think that's more likely to be whatever they come up with, and parallel universe is probably it.
I don't think we get the enormity of the Luciferian lie here. On this show, everyone feels like, party, the war's over, we win. But when you go out there, family and friends are constantly being hit with this rhetoric. Also, the way that they've pigeonholed us as being conspirators. I'm getting stories left and right of people saying to their friends, "You're crazy. I can't believe you're a flat earther. I might not even be able to have a relationship with you because of this. I mean, you're just, I thought you were somebody before." And so the divide is great because while we're here on this little corner of the internet, breaking it down, making it simple, proving it beyond the shadow of a doubt, they've had a big head start, and they've got the media and they've got all this. So I'm still running into it. I know you guys are. So we just might be happy that a small number of people got the truth, and then we'll see what happens with God's grace after that.
On the other hand, the stranglehold that the current so-called mainstream media had over at least what I know in my country isn't necessarily as strong as it once was. So although me personally, yes, I have had a TV in my life at various stages, namely when I was rich and I could and wasn't there to even watch it probably. But for the most part, since I left home, I didn't have a TV, and everyone around me did. And I therefore had a very different outlook on the world. And, I've been mentioning that Robot Underground guy, the guy who makes subwoofers. I described him as an EM tech yesterday. That guy was describing in one of his videos that I watched yesterday, him going into a local Chinese or similar restaurant, and they happened to have the TV on. And he just happened to blab out that, like me, he hadn't had a TV for the longest part. Now, so when he said that, I was like, oh, right, so when you gave a little heart remark to me pointing out the second law of thermodynamics violation that is the sky vacuum, rather than banning me, he, acknowledged the comment. Now, why? Well, because that in that small instance, he represents a certain percentage of society that have just said, no, I don't want TV in my life, it's just propaganda, precisely as he described it. And around me generally, I get a similar vibe from an ever-increasing percentage of the people I know who've turned their back on certain aspects, not all, far from it, aspects of mainstream media, which does leave them open to their perception branching out into their actual reality rather than the one that the mainstream media presents them. So, I mean, I haven't lost all hope in that regard. I don't think everyone's under the cosh of Luciferian doublespeak, because I don't think they are. I just don't know to what extent. That's why I say, just to round out my point, that's why I'm nearly there. That's why I said I don't know, because I don't. And neither do you. You don't know where society is. You only know what they tell you in terms of where society is. And you've only got a general impression when man on the street walks past you.
Yeah, but what about the kids I asked right before you say that?
10th,
hold on.
It was 10th that was rumpusing
okay,
me.
Go
so,
ahead.
I was trying to wait for a time. Sorry, Nathan. I'll let Neil get out what he wants to get out. I can hold. Go.
What about the kids I spoke to when I was doing that job in Jersey? Those 2 kids sitting down doing their homework. When I asked if their teacher, are they still teaching that Earth is a globe? They said, no, Earth is flat. Water doesn't curve. Water doesn't take the shape of a ball.
How do you know that
I don't know.
You don't know if the little sods weren't trolling you to see your reaction and trying to flat smack you, for all you know.
No.
Nathan, if I may, I have the solution for this.
Did they show you material?
Hey, I only let Neil in here, not everybody.
I was about to say, let's get 10th.
I'm asking Neil. Did they show you their educational material? Or
Dude in Discord, yes, I'll get to you. I did hear you. Go on,
No worries.
No, they didn't, Arwen.
Okay, 10th, Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's much broader than that. Yeah, people don't trust CNN and fake news, and I think that's a good thing. But because from the other point, I'll speak as a Christian, in the church, and I say the church like vaguely here, has brought in scientism. And because of the pseudoscience that was purported as real science, has over the centuries found its way into the pulpit. Pastors are now talking about space and dark matter and Beetlejuice and how far away it is. And then, just a little question, how can you have gas pressure next to a vacuum? We'll destroy all that. But it's not there yet because the congregation has already fallen for, hey, we made peace with the scientific revolution here. So we have a little agreement here. We agree it's all this because God made it that way. Now, there's nothing in the Bible that says that, but they'll take little text out of context and make it sound that way, like a circle of the earth that hangs on nothing. Okay, well, let's see. The earth hangs on, let me finish. The circle of the earth is a two-dimensional circle. It's not the word sphere. And hangs on nothing. It also sits on nothing, but the Bible describes it as stationary. That goes against heliocentrism right away. And so because of this marriage to scientism, when I talk to Christians, they think I'm crazy because science backs the Bible now. But I say, no, it's not science, it's pseudoscience. Define gravity for me. Define this, define that. And they don't know nothing. All they know is that I'm crazy because I'm a flat earther. So we have this thing to overcome with education. Now, your show is a perfect platform. That's why I think you're a favorite son of Providence right now. I think God is using you for this purpose, just like he uses anybody, Christian and non-Christian.
In the interest of balance, can you now give it from a Luciferian perspective?
Yeah.
Right here. Here's the devil right here. I'll give it to you.
Well done. That was the same guy from Discord, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the answer to this was given to me last night by somebody who said they were a glober themselves. And basically what he said is, we have come to a point where we have matured an argument enough that we have a coherent point here, right? And what we need to do, like 10th Man is saying, is form an organization like these churches that are allowed to go out and spout their nonsense, right? And we just form an organization. We have plenty of talent here. We have plenty of smart people. We need to team together, form the organization, and get people out there actually doing the philanthropic work that we're trying to do here and spread the message to the masses. Like he was saying, we're stuck in a dark corner of the internet. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people that have seen this information and either made their decision or whatever. But at this point, if we honestly want to move this forward to, that's where it needs to go.
Okay.
And how will
it's
that
not.
be accomplished then?
It's just
that doesn't even work with regular churches right now. How do you think that's going to work if we're doing it with the
Hold
on. Just 1 second, Darwin and Guy in Discord. Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Oh,
Hello.
Sorry.
Lots of audio chaos. So just want to drop it in there because I mentioned him earlier, that Robot Underground guy. His subwoofer repair / manufacturing business is a registered church. So while the weight of having a church might seem like it has some sincerity behind it, sometimes, I'm not saying this is the case for Robot Underground, it's just a bit of a tax dodge. Just saying.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Well,
besides, like,
it's more
the politics attacks church.
Hold on, just let Arwin. Just Arwin first, then Guy in Discord. Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah, it's a nice idea that, we could create an official organization, kind of like a religion. Yeah, but if that religion and its content is in disfavor with, like, the mainstream Satan, then it's just going to attack it like, this is like a dangerous cult, just like they would with certain types of Christianity.
Nah,
they do that.
No. Satanists are also entitled to their own church in that regard, believe it or not. I'm not just saying that to be farcical either.
So the thing is no one's going to take us seriously if we're out there with homemade poster cards trying to present flat earth truths. They're going to look at us just like it's being presented.
Why not?
So when we're professionally representing
God, can you
ourselves...
stop rumpusing him with why not? Because we can't hear his point. Go ahead, Guy.
Can I just say, I vote for Bob Nodell to be vice chairman.
God. I just want to hear the guy's point from Discord.
Triggering your panel, Nathan. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. It's their fault.
Yeah, I was just trying to say, when we're professionally representing ourselves and we have a way to collect valid income through the donations, it's going to essentially give ourselves the funding we need to push our narrative further, and it's important to have.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's great.
Hold on.
That's great until their political infiltrators come. Yeah, it's great until that point.
That's true also, Arwin. But what is required? I mean, beyond me being able to sustain myself, and I mean that with the utmost sincerity, that's the funding I need. So, I mean, on this note, smash the super chat if you're watching this. But my point is that yes, I need funding to do what I do. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be doing it. But beyond that, what funding's needed for what?
We need funding for people to essentially come together to have professional.
If I may, that's it.
So we can have some.
Just give me a second.
Go ahead.
Just give me a second. The hammer.
I was just looking for staffing so that we can essentially take this to the public sector instead of just being in this niche little corner on the internet. I'd like to be out in the public eye and have facilities set up where people can find what truth that we have to share.
Yeah, like what was suggested? Hold on.
Nobody's stopping you from doing that.
Okay, yeah, hold on. Hold on, the hammer.
What was?
Just 1 second, the hammer.
Go ahead.
Just 1 second. Number one, I didn't hear a dollar value to that. Facilities. I can rent a facility for $50. Beyond that, I don't see a dollar value. But go ahead, the hammer.
Well, what was suggested is you start out from like a scientific kind of perspective, right? An educational perspective, right? Trying to get kids back out doing actual physical foundational science. The differences, bringing to the people the differences between foundational, actual real science, experimental science, and what we've gotten into with this theoretical science, what the differences are. And like, he said you could have a booth and hand out little science experiments to kids and hand out pamphlets or whatever. You're just getting out there like all these other groups do, showing them, hey, we're real people. We're not here to harm anybody. We're not a cult. We're just here with some information. Bam, that's it.
Well, that sounds like an academy to me, right? An academy could be a great source to have, a place where people can come together and learn.
Why are we wanting a timing it out in some booth with a few handful of people that pass by? I mean, without any disrespect to that idea, number one, I've already done that. as of lots of people here, without belittling that particular process. I'm not against it or for it. I don't see it as a, number one, something worthy of funding, as that's the current topic. And number two, I feel like I'm doing a better job of that here on YouTube.
And what makes you think that it's only...
You just
hold
had
on,
your man
hold on.
Sorry,
God.
sorry.
What makes you think this is just this little corner of the internet? I'd have you know that it's going further than you think.
What beautiful
Neil,
sentiment.
I'm all on board with that, except for the idea, like Arwen was saying, you have a lot of people on both sides that are trying to stifle this argument, right? And when you're talking about anything on the internet, right? Not everybody's on the internet, first of all, as much as we'd like to think so. Not everybody is on the internet, and not everybody is looking at this information. There's a lot of people, yeah. There's a lot of people interested in it.
Well done, that's interesting. So perhaps we should force this upon them then.
No, it's not a force
It's not
thing.
a matter of forcing. It's a matter of bringing their attention to the fact that there's some hypocrisies within the mainstream narrative that needs to be addressed formally. The whole point is to bring the debate to the doors of academia. Academia is never going to open the doors to us because they've already have the power. The only way to do it is by influencing the masses and permeating the current culture to accepting the fact that there is contradictions currently that need to be addressed and understood.
Okay. And to what ends? What would be the reasoning behind doing this? What's the purpose behind it?
Right. Sorry, buddy.
What's the purpose behind it? To what ends?
To further the understanding that there is a problem with today's science. Today's scientists are not doing science. They're nothing more than mathematicians seeking to quantize everything into discrete particle interaction to support this heliocentric model that's in shambles. It's completely decimated against their knowing. They don't even know about it. All they know is what they've been told.
No, I get all that. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Okay, and why, pray tell, do you want to disseminate that to the masses?
Because it's our civil duty, Nathan.
Yeah, we need to wake up the people, dude. They're in a slumber. We need to wake them up.
I don't think you can wake them up. I think you wake up when you're ready, myself. When you're ready and the time's right, you'll wake up. And in the meantime, we just drop in, plant seeds, and do what we're doing.
Well, this is the ultimate.
And nobody's stopping you from starting.
If I may,
hold on, everyone, hold on.
Jesus.
Brian. Hello, Brian first. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, am I mistaken in what I heard is that this is a baller's idea of what we should do? Yep. We should create some flat out organization.
You heard that correctly.
With a committee or something.
Yep, you heard that correctly.
An actual foundation.
So some baller is suggesting what we should do. I wonder why he's doing that. Maybe because he knows it will fail.
I can answer that. I can answer that. Hold on. Brian asked, why would a baller be doing that? It's basic projection. So what's going through the baller's mind when he's contemplating the inevitable fact that he's living on a flat plane, but doesn't want to have to deal with it, is tell you how you should cope with it and how you should progress this in your state of mind moving forward. It's just projection. That's what's going through his mind at that stage.
I got more of a different attitude from him. I got more of the same attitude that what Tent's presenting, where he claims to be working in sciences, right? But also disagrees. Literally, this was his words, disagrees with how some of science is presented to him. He didn't get into specifics. I would have liked to have done that. But it was almost as if, yeah, he's kind of struggling and he kind of knows per se. He did say he disagrees with us, but we have a lot of good points and there is a coherent argument here, a matured coherent argument. And that, he said, basically, if you guys want to be taken seriously, this is how everybody else does it. You know what I mean?
He's looking for a nice little security blanket. If I'm going to declare this to anybody around me, then I need to know that there's a nice support network set up with everybody understanding that you're dead serious and you're not silly. Then I can put my rubber stamp on it for me. So you need to go out and establish that for me to feel comfortable in this. He's just looking for a little security blanket like a snowflake because he can't cope with it. So he's going to tell us what's what in terms of what needs to be feathered for his little nest to step into. Go fuck yourself. Like I care whether you like it in this arena. No, step in and have your ass handed to you by your own brethren the moment you declare it's flat. And see what we had to put up with 7 years rather than telling me what I need to do in terms of setting up conferences and little stands with leaflets so you can feel like you can be taken seriously when you realise the inevitable of how deceived you've been. That's what you can do, Fundy Muppet. If he was here,
We're not taking seriously anyway.
Ruin my point, why
We
not?
are taking
Obviously,
seriously.
Neil's going to ruin the end of my punchline.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Neil.
I thought you were done.
Well, I was just pausing for breath for a split second. Yeah, obviously that would be what I said to him if he was here. Obviously, in the third person, we can only portray this image of how they can go fuck themselves when we're talking about them in the third person.
Can I speak
Not everybody's
now?
a warrior, Nathan. You know what I mean?
What happened to PG?
So the whole conversation came about in terms of how can we evolve this a little better and further. And the whole point was to try to set up some sort of interaction publicly to where public people walking by can interact with us on the Discord panel. And the idea was to go to college campuses and universities and try to get some of these bona fide individuals to actually sit down and have a somewhat of a formal debate with us.
And I said, why?
You're completely...
I
To
said,
take
why?
us serious.
Hold
I
on.
think
Well,
we're being serious
Oh,
buddies.
God. Thank you for summarising it over the top of the extension of the discussion, Neil. Yes. My question was, why do you want to...
To expose the hypocrisy and the contradiction from the mainstream narrative so that others can see what the current...
So if I may stop you, because you're not... The real answer is, Nathan, it's for the future generations, right? We acknowledge that most likely it's going to take a long time for people to publicly acknowledge this, right? But it's the first step in getting this information, like he was saying, to permeate throughout the public and to get rid of this freaking tyrannical BS.
There it is. We got there
day.
eventually. You believe that by disseminating this information, based on what you've just said, through universities and the general public and people shopping, right?
I know.
You think that will put an end to the control and tyranny that you perceive from what government and big
Not
business?
simply just that, but that's the first step, right? It's
Is
the
it?
first step. You got to.
And how do you know
take
that?
The first step.
That's definitely, according to you now, the first step on that journey. Really? How'd you prove that to me?
How did I prove it to you?
Yeah, how do I know?
Well, look, I mean, like you just said.
Hello, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Just asking my new guru, who's telling me what steps I need to take on what road, how you know that first step is definitely the first step towards your goal. Can you tell me that, please, new guru?
First of all, I'm not intending to be your guru.
I know, just play
to
along. I'm just putting you in that position to make my point. Just play along.
Okay, I got you. So, and I apologize. So how is it the next step? Is what you're asking me?
How is that the first step on a journey to ending the tyranny that the Western world faces?
By waking up the masses, majority rules, man. So if we can
die slow. Please, man, please. Like you were saying, Nathan, Scientologists and Luciferians have a place to spout their crap, right? Even though the majority of people, I would think, do not agree with their crap, right? For some reason, they're allowed to spout it, right? So like you're saying, like you brought up before, why are there all these groups of people that it's not okay to make fun of and they have all this protection and blah, blah, blah. But then we have us over here that are berated and talked to at like subhumans just for simply questioning the scientific validity of the theories that we have today.
Okay, let's answer that. Hold on, let me answer him. Let me just answer him. Okay. Why have they got these platforms to disseminate this? They built them. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, inevitably, the first step is building the organization to get the information out there. Point proven. Welcome.
Right, that's okay. So that's where we started. And I asked what exactly you want to build and how much it would cost. We got to something that was about renting a venue. That's where we got.
No. It's a charitable, philanthropic organization around philanthropy. Bam.
Okay.
I mean, we need,
Stop.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. If I say I'm going to make a business, and I say I'm going to make it an incorporated business, and I'm going to get all the documentation, and I'm going to register it for tax, and there we go. Look at my file. Look, check it out. I've got business. Hello. Unless you do something, that means nothing. Register it as a church, as a philanthropic church. What does that mean? What does it achieve? It doesn't do anything. I'm saying, what do you want to do, and why do you want to do it? And what I'm getting told is to convert the masses to end tyranny, to disseminate it through the means that have been built by our opponents, the arrogance of it. No. Then we get to, well, we should build it ourselves. No, that is a vibe I'm trying to push you to go on more, because it might be developed into something useful between all these people that are discussing this right now. I've had this conversation before with a lot of people, plenty of times, and it always disseminates into the foundations built by our opponents that they preach from. We need to take hold of them or infiltrate. You know, whoa. The people who've made their way to that hill have made it there off their own back for their own reasons. Now, if they ask you whether or not that's a good journey to be taking, then feel free to let them know. And that's why my doors are open. But as for setting up camp in front of them as they're walking towards the doors and pointing out how stupid the doors are, I see that as a very, very bad thing to start off with as a foundation. But I do want to progress, obviously. I'm all ears, but all I tend to get is a load of sentimental nonsense that doesn't mean anything, that isn't going to progress anything. And in this case, register as a church, give yourself a label. None of it does anything, in my opinion.
Can I?
If you don't do anything after that,
hang on.
It's a way to get funding and to be able to legally allocate that funding towards the progression of the permeation of the information.
And what is that progression of the permeation? That's just a load of word salad unless you... Stop. Unless you give that some validity and some actualization in our reality, that's just word salad unless you give that some meat.
In comes the 503c3 organization.
I'm asking Die Slow. It was Die Slow that said it, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to allow Hammer to answer. He's on the same page.
No, you said it. Dissemination and permeation, really beautiful words. Now, tell me what that involves.
It's involved with people like us having funding to be able to go out.
You're just saying the same thing.
And not have
okay,
to
you're just saying the same thing. I heard. For what? To do what?
To promote the fact that they're being lied to.
Yeah, we got all this.
That's the wrong answer, if I may. That's the wrong answer.
Who's talking through me? The other guy.
We're going to start.
This guy, the guy that's now decided it's going to be him talking through my show.
I apologize, Nathan.
You don't need to apologize. Just shut up. Thank you. Yeah, like every time I've had this conversation, it disseminates into this. Oh, well, we need to promote the virtues of flat earth to start the ball rolling in terms of people's waking up to the truth of the world that they're in and blah, blah, blah. Okay, what do we actually need to do then? Well, we need to get funding. For what? For disseminating the information. Okay, I'm disseminating the information. Just give me money. Okay, I'm already doing that. Just give me money if that's what you want. You want to raise funds for the dissemination of the information? Is that the guy that I just told to shut up by any chance? Is it? Perhaps? Yep. Shocking. Yeah, middle of a breath. Yeah, I am doing that. I have dedicated my life to doing what you want. Just give me money if you want that. I'm already doing it. But if you've got something further to what I'm obviously already doing, with an open door that anybody can walk in, and while you might not like how big my platform is in the arena I've built it, it is being built by me as we speak right now. So if you've got nothing further to that and you just want funds, and you haven't got anything to dedicate them to, I need funds, give them me. I'm already doing what you want. Now, I'm not just saying give me
And
money.
actually, you're
I'm
not.
saying further to that, offer something else, something useful, something we can all say, oh, yeah, that would be worth investing in or talking through. Yeah, give me something tangible.
I'm trying, Nathan. I really am. But the guy...
Hold on.
You know,
Dyslo, you're wrong. Because Nathan has already done this, and he's done it for money. Don't you remember he was on Vice TV? He's already been on TV and promoted this. He's already disseminated the information to the masses.
You guys are missing the point, if I may.
Forget where Nathan started, buddy.
You guys are missing the point, if I may.
All of you are missing the point.
Okay, well, you've said it second, Brian. I know you're waiting in the wings. The guy that's he's interrupting because he wants to get a point through, so he'll continue unless we let him. Go ahead, the hammer.
Well, nobody's discounting what you're doing, Nathan. We're just talking about the next steps of this movement that's been created, of this coherent argument that has been formed, yes, on your back, on the work that you've done through years of this channel.
I know,
you know what I mean?
just summarising the discussion point. Hello? All you're doing is summarising it. We know what the discussion point is. We know.
So
how we move things forward, we know. You don't need to summarise it for me.
So bringing it back, what we need to be doing, in my point of view, if, like 10th was saying, he's still getting this flack from people in his family because they don't recognize this as any kind of legitimate thing, the way to do it is to organize ourselves into an actual legitimate organization. That's just...
No, correct. Totally
simply
wrong.
put.
Couldn't be more wrong.
Preposterous.
No.
Work.
No, he couldn't be more right. That was absolutely
Okay, let's get some control. Brian, then 10th. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Some baller told ye, or one of ye, I think it was Dyslo, that ye should go out and form an organisation and go to universities where they don't want to know you and they won't talk to you, where you're begging for their attention, right? For them, people who a lot of them spout total nonsense, to give you attention, right? And to listen to you for a moment, or maybe some students on campus to listen to you for a moment. And you're going to go off then and they won't take you serious. You'll just be an annoyance on campus. And you then will go off and create an organization and become what? You become Scientology, a belief system. Or that's the flat earth belief organization. We're not an organization, though. It's about the world, not an organization. It's about the flat earth, the earth. Not flat organisation debate, flat earth debate. Don't be listening to ballers with their bullshit ideas that they want you to do, right? Don't be going out onto campuses trying to change people's minds. If they have something that they want to hear, then they can fucking come to us. We don't go after them anymore, right? That's
Brian,
the fucking end of that.
There's something to hear, though.
If I may, because everybody's getting all excited and Dyslo is not really
I'm not excited.
Putting this out really well. It's not about throwing flat earth in people's face, okay? The start of it, you know what I mean?
You still have to learn.
Yes, it is, per se.
Did you listen to anything I said? Did you listen to anything I said?
But you're not listening to anything I'm saying, Brian, and that's the issue. You just summarize.
Dude, you keep saying the same shit over and over again.
Okay, continue to interrupt me and not get my point across. Thank you. You
got your point across. We get it already.
Thank you, Arwen. Again, thank you, Arwen. Appreciate it. Continue to interrupt me.
You kept on saying yeah.
Okay, just let him.
You didn't hear anything.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Just let him get to the end. Otherwise, this dissension into chaos will continue forever. Go ahead, the hammer.
You're incorrectly summarizing my proposition here. I'm not telling people to go out and form an organization around flat Earth. Yes, that will be obviously, but it's not what we're putting out there to the public. It's simply trying to reach people on a foundational science level, like you guys have trying to been doing, right? Trying to get them to better understand what the hell is going on with this, the difference between actual real science and all this theoretical science that we're in.
We heard all that.
You don't have to mention flat Earth at all.
Thank you. We heard all that. And what we tried to get across to you is, yes, I illustrated this and you've just illustrated this. Yeah, we're already doing that. And to progress the conversation, We need suggestions for things beyond that. Yeah? Unless you just want me to send that back into me begging for people to give me money, which I can do. No worries.
I never said that. That's what I'm. That's
you said the foundational basis of science and educating people in that. Yes, I do that daily. Yeah, we already do that, but that doesn't beyond what we're already doing, which is that.
What if there was an organization that offered free curriculum for elementary schools or something like that? Had like some kind of structured, workbooks and things of that nature. That might be one approach. I'm not saying should or shouldn't. I'm just saying it might work.
Brilliant. Workbooks. There you go. First thing I've heard in this entire discussion that sounds actually useful.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
That's what it takes, a team, Nathan.
Now, listen. People with no sales background speak with a lot of loftiness, and rejection is a real thing. And when rejection happens, you move on in sales. The people don't want your product. When you establish yourself as a really good salesman, you learn how to overcome objections. And you grab a lot of people who are in that in-between place of never doing business with you because they just will never do it, versus the people who are programmed with responses. No, I'm not interested. You walk into a store, salesman's coming to you. You walk into a car lot, salesman's coming to you. Your initial response is, oh my gosh, here he comes. Okay, that initial thing, obviously the guy came to a car dealership, so he's looking for a car. The salesman who makes it realizes that and doesn't apply pressure and has overcoming objection skills. So then the successful salesperson picks up all the easy sales. Anybody could do that. Just look at how many realtors have a real estate license when the market's up. A phone call means a sale. But when the market's dry and you've got to show who you are and your paperwork is good and this deal goes through and there's no hangups and hiccups, you're a professional. All right, so you grab all the in-betweeners at that point because you learn how to overcome objections. In Flat Earth, how I've translated that is I've already figured out who wants to listen and who doesn't in my family. I've figured out in their influence who wants to listen. Like my son says, hey, this guy, my daughter, this person, this family wants to talk to you. So I've already spread myself out with the people who want it. I'm teaching them. I don't ask Nathan to teach them. I'm teaching them. I'm on phone calls during the week, talking to people, teaching people. They are in a different market. They know people I don't know, but now they're the conduit for me. So I bring them along. They bring the same thing goes. They grab a few of theirs. Those people grab a few of theirs. Next thing you know, we're going to number 100. Right now, I've got a good number of people in the sense that I'm teaching and sharing the concepts from the show. They're putting me in front of people. Now, each one of those will duplicate. So the saying is simple. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. I don't spend my time.
Look at Jehovah's Witnesses.
I'm talking.
How many people?
I'm talking.
Yeah, you've been talking.
Yeah, I'm not done. And I just started and you were talking before. Where's your manners?
Go ahead, Tent.
I'm lucky if I...
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, organizations with lies grow. Organizations with truth grows. But you don't grow if you spend time with the wrong people. Some will, some won't. So what next? I move on. I move on for the ear that wants to hear, the eyes that want to see. Then they go, they're excited. They start contacting everybody they know because they're in the game with you. I'm not forcing anything on anybody. And next thing you know, the wife of the person who rejected you is contacted through one of these loops. And now it's inside his home when I was outside his home. Now he has to deal with it. That's the way it happens in life.
Look at the Jehovah's Witnesses, dude. How many people reject the Jehovah's Witnesses? They come to your door, they're freaking annoying. You close the door, but at the end of the day, what do? You go, what the fuck are these people about? Who are the Jehovah's Witnesses? Do they believe in Christ? And that's our approach. Is we're just trying to open the door to the idea that there is something there, that you should be aware of, whether you agree or not. Is it?
And what part?
Hold on,
what part of what I explained did not do that?
Hello. Just let him finish. Go ahead.
It's not about agreeing. It's about planting that seed. And when we plant the seed 1,000,000 times faster than what you're doing with somebody trying to find you on a YouTube channel, it's going to be a lot more efficient.
And what part of what I explained doesn't work exactly like that? When I meet no resistance. Hang on, relax.
Think about how many people. Think about how many people you've interacted with in the last year versus going out publicly and setting up a booth of display where random people can walk by and at least be exposed to the fact that there's something there.
Are you doing that?
How many times have you done this?
Excuse me.
Yeah,
are you
exactly.
doing that?
How many times has he done it?
Hang on,
it's a matter of setting it up. That's what I'm talking about doing. I'm talking about bringing this to fruition.
Why don't you go do it?
About doing.
Okay. Yes. The sentiment. Hello. The sentiment is just go and do it. So I think Adam's just about to pipe up because he has done it, right?
But I maybe suggest getting a camper van, go around Europe and do it.
Yeah, there's people.
All I say is lots of people have lots of suggestions for things other people should do. If you want something doing in life, do it. Go and do it.
Okay. I don't want to demean Adam, who has done this. However, and I'm going to side with 10th Man because he's come from a sales background, right? So if you've got a product to sell, you've got a couple of different options. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a company that you're working for or your own company that has a pedestal built on a high street, yeah, then there's a chance that the person that walks through your door is exponentially more likely to want to buy your product from you because you have a place for them to wander in. A bit like here with an open door that people can wander in, as much as you want to demean that and say that it would be better to cold call like the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I know the statistics behind that, and you are wrong, I assure you.
It's not a matter of converting. It's a matter of exposing them to the hypocrisy, not trying to fucking capture their mind and bring them to flat earth and hopefully that they'll join us. That's not the approach.
So go do it.
Neil, please, for the love of God, please.
Go and do it.
Hello? Sorry, you said specifically it's not about exposure and conversion. Au contraire, they would be the very specific statistics I would look at. How much exposure have I given my product versus how many people were converted to buying my product? I will say again, statistically, you are wrong. Cold calling and standing in the street does not give you a high conversion rate. In fact, it's absolutely abysmal. However, owning a bar where people who want drink can buy drink tends to mean that people who walk through that door will probably buy a drink from you. Unlike the guy with the bottle of booze on the street going, "Buy my booze." Most people think that guy's a nutter.
Yep. And that's where we're saying we need to have an organized foundation, not just some nutter on a street corner with a printed sign.
Hello, everybody, please. Yeah, so we're going round in the same circle, hopefully more calmly this time. Yes, we've gone through this circle 4 times, audience. Yes, that's right. Yes, so we need a platform. Again, this could be an opportunity for me to point out that I've built one. You're on it. And people come in regularly. And that there's 100,000 people watching my videos a month exposed to this subject as a direct consequence of the bloody hard work I put in. So just give me money. If you want that, we've already covered this. But further to that, which I've already built, and further to your suggestions of cold calling people and standing in the street like a preacher, do you have anything that's actually tangible and useful that might actually be worthy of our time in pursuit beyond the things that have already been done? And Adam's already done them in the case of going out and cold calling and standing on the street. Anything else?
Could put a gun to the head, maybe.
Think I was a little bit mental.
Consistency, man. It's all about consistency. You can't just go out one time and fucking
okay. You know what? Again, Nathan.
Sorry, hello. All about consistency. Is that something I can put a dollar value on and raise the funds for the church that we're going to develop to do this? We're going to register the church, gather the funds, and then we're standing with a document and a building. We're going to say it's about consistency. So you wouldn't have the first fucking clue what to do if we developed all this shit, would you? You'd be telling the people around you, we need to be more consistent. Oh, right. So if I've got a product to sell, I need to tell the salesman to be more consistent. In what? Consistency in what?
I think you're pretty consistent, Nathan. Every morning.
Thank you, Neil. Yes, I think I've made that smash the super chat point about 5 times. Yes, I know. We're already doing that. We're trying to progress this. So far, this entire discussion has only resulted in one decent suggestion, that we produce work booklets around the subject that can be provided to a child in an educational capacity. That, although it was said in terms of integrating it into the Western world current network of education structure, that bit I kind of discounted. But what I heard was workbooks for kids. I was like, ching! That sounds like a brilliant idea. I'm currently giving my kids workbooks for this and that and the other, and occasionally there's some heliocentric nonsense in there. Well, why not have some actual real-world flat Earth information that's useful and practical and can be utilised in their life? That would be good in a workbook, would it not? Great. Well, we're getting somewhere with that. But just hearing this empty, vague nonsense that doesn't really offer anything to move forward with, that's what I'm getting frustrated with. Because, okay, be more consistent. Oh, thank you. Well, that's so useful moving forward if we're trying to develop money and get funds for something.
Can I just say, on Amazon, there is a video.
Owen book.
Go on, Anthony. Amazon video, go ahead.
On Amazon, there is a, when you said about booklets, there is a Flat Earth booklet out there right now from Flat Earth Music. Was it Music Conspiracy Guru? Talking about don't believe in gravity. So, like, there is stuff happening. Just want to mention that. Check it out.
Cool. Shout out to Conspiracy Mystic Guru.
I have to say this.
What's the poems?
Your poems? Yeah. Book of poems?
A larger footprint gains more traction.
When it's free, let me know.
I was going to add.
No, people.
I've no thought on moving it forward or whatever. But just some advice. I spent quite a long years being a consultant in business, and there's a couple of main things that you need to consider whenever you're proposing anything, and it starts with what your business model is. And that will start with defining what your customer segments are, what type of relationships they want, what kind of channels you're going to use, what's your value proposition, key activities, key resources, revenue streams, cost structures. So there's a lot of things to consider before you just blurt out something, right? So, this is my 2 cents.
I could kiss you. Absolutely spot on. All of those things are considered before you do anything. When people talk about building platforms and going out and doing stuff, it's like, what's your aim? What's your goal? What are you trying to achieve? How are you thinking of achieving it? Who's your customer? Who are you going to flog this to? How are you going to flog it to them? How do you know they're your customer? In this case, it's the information that we're selling. We're selling Flat Earth. That's a thing. It's a thing you can sell. Now, sell doesn't necessarily mean transactional. In the same way that if you provide a service in barter, you might be breaking your bloody back for somebody in receipt of something else from them that they do. No money changing hands. Well, this is informational based. It's still selling. So all the considerations just detailed by Truth Be Told have to be considered. You've got to go through all that stuff if you're going to try and think about how you appeal to next man who, if you don't consider those things, you're just a barking idiot on a street corner trying to flog your wares.
And that's what woke me up. It took some fucking idiot saying flat Earth, and I'm going, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Is somebody this shit for me to fucking look into it? That's what it takes. You're acting like I'm trying to steal your fucking lunch money, dude. I'm just trying to gain a larger footprint for more traction, for more efficiency.
But the existing
calm down.
It's existing.
Thank you.
Journalism, it's QE, it's 24/7. You have in Serbia, you have all servers all around the world. It's working.
Okay, let me give you an example. While that might be the case for your entry into this subject, my entry into this subject was somebody who had considered those things, who had considered how he could manipulate an audience to integrate the information into a comedy routine. And that would be Math Powerland. So he considered his audience base somebody who wants to laugh. And then he integrated the subject matter into that and tried to progress, if you want to call it the business aspect, of his comedy. That's how he approached it. So he's given careful consideration and then reached me by that method with his comedy routine. That's how I got introduced to Math Powerland. Or one of the videos I watched, it wasn't that specific video. But that's how he was in the arena to begin with for me to find him. So he's assessed those things, right? He hasn't just gone, Flat Earth's a thing, I need to set up a platform and be more consistent. He went, I can integrate this into a comedy routine. My customer's somebody who wants to laugh. They'll buy tickets. That might make me a living.
May I talk?
Well, not everybody's got that. Not everybody's a comedian. Some people do other things a little better.
Yeah.
May I talk?
Yes, I'll just round this out with this dude. Yes, absolutely. I'm probably doing a bad job. Maybe I'm not. Trying to encourage people's creative juices so that they go, well, what I do is, like the truth be told guy, well, I know a lot about business and how you need to develop a business. If you look at it from that point of view, your commodity or your sellable item being the information of Flat Earth, if you assess it in those terms, you might actually find some success at the end of it when you answer all the questions that you're asking. Go ahead, Tenth.
Okay. I have nothing against what this caller is saying, but he hasn't done it, and he's asking for consistency of something he hasn't done. I've done what I'm saying, and I rather work with the warm, friendly market than a cold market. I like good referrals, people who want to listen to my message, want my product. And so currently, one guy a few months ago that I told you came to Flat Earth in a very dramatic fashion through a friend of mine who's a Flat Earther. Then I was invited up to visit and talk to this person. Hour and a half drive from where I'm at. I did, made a great connection. This person is moved to another state now and has influenced one person. The other people thought he was crazy. That person influenced 7 other people. So now he's influenced 8 people, and they all want to talk to me. See, until you do it, the methodology you say works great as a concept, but until you do it, and the number one reason people fall out of sales is rejection. So I always try to limit rejection so they get a commission check before the rejection. And I said, who do you know that trusts you, likes you? Well, let's go to them first. Well, some people didn't want that. Some people said, well, I want to try it on others. I said, well, you're going to get rejected. They don't know you. There's no history. They don't know your intentions. They may not even want to help you succeed, whereas a friend might. Let's start there because
We're not
your friends
selling
got friends.
anything, though. That's the difference. We're not trying to sell stuff.
Yeah, you are.
We're just trying to expose the fact that there's something more than you've been told. What's the story? That's what we want. People going,
you're missing the point.
That's selling. That's selling. That's the story, right? Imagine a newspaper. The information contained within, that's the thing that's being sold when it's in print and you can physically imagine it as something tangible. But when you're like, we're not selling anything. No, we are selling something.
Correct.
Let me say this. We are selling something. It's information. It's not for money. Now we have, if you want to support the channel, support Nathan Oakley because he's reaching everybody. And most of us as a group have schooled each other here. And we're better for it.
Hold on. Sorry, 10th.
I'm in the middle.
Just let 10th finish and then I have got a summary to round out on, thank God, thanks to 10th. Go ahead.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm making strides and gaining individuals coming to Flat Earth because I'm spending time with ears that want to hear, eyes that want to see, and all through friendly connections. Sure, I could go back to the cold market system that my newbie salespeople tried and fell out of the business because they got rejected and rejected and rejected. Whereas I'm talking to people who are saying, I'm interested in this subject, school me. Then I school them, they become another 10th. And it grows and it grows. And he stays in the war market of another person's interest. And it's all through introduction, friendly situations. Now, as I'm saying this, I just talked to a person last night that brought it up in an event and has already got 3 people who are fighting him. And I said, so what are you going to do? He says, well, I'm going to get them the information if they want to see it. If not, say la vie. And I said, perfect.
Right. To try and view what at least we, and I mean that collectively in terms of us right now, you on the Discord panel, you on the G Plus panel, and me as the host of this particular show, as 10th Man described it, as a school, as opposed to the sales floor or the marketplace in general in any way, shape or form. Now, yeah, we've got a product, but see this grounds here as the training grounds. What I'm driving at is 10th Man's describing being a good ambassador. If you want to know what you need to do on an individualistic level, what do you do? If I'm talking to you, either audience member or you, anybody who was talking previously in Discord, you need to be a good ambassador for the subject. Well, how can you be a good ambassador? Again, that comes down to my exasperation where I'm like, well, that's what we offer. If getting other people to understand the difference between pseudoscience claims from heliocentrism and actual scientific validity that's offered by cause and effect relationships established and then a hypothesis-based experiment being performed, then you can do that by simply being a good ambassador for the subject. And that doesn't mean proactively going out as a preacher. It just means knowing your stuff so that if it does happen to come up, you are immediately a good representative for that which you wish to disseminate. And then there's a reasonable chance, fair outcome or bad outcome or good outcome with the person you're disseminating it to, they may, if they've engaged in that conversation with you, also in time also become a good ambassador. That's the dissemination that 10th is trying to get across. So while it's like, well, we want to build a desk that more people can come to, don't worry about having a desk. Worry about what's in your brain being of the highest possible standard so that if you ever end up in a discussion with somebody else about it, you're a good rep. That's all. And here, right now, this is the school to become that good rep. Now, if you go to the school and say, you shouldn't be a school, you should be a sales platform. You should be building a different style of platform that sells the goods that you're training people to sell more. It's like, well, I'm trying to impart the information onto others so that they can sell the information to others. Now, that's a training ground, and you might say, well, if you're the guy training everyone else to do it, wouldn't you be better served out one at a timing it? And I say, no, definitely not. I'm in the right place doing the right thing. And yes, it's encouraging and I'll accept any constructive criticism or suggestions to make me do better at that. But when the suggestion is go out and stand in front of a desk, you might see 6 people come along who aren't interested in what you've got to offer versus standing in your training office and disseminating the information to literally 100,000 people a month in terms of the amount of views I get. I see that as vastly valuable, providing the people that come and go from the arena become good reps.
Yeah, our whole point was to expose your server and your information to the masses. It wasn't trying to steal the spotlight. It was trying to widen the scope of spotlight. If you want to make it up a hill, you have to have a larger footprint to gain more traction. And that's all we're trying to do is further the footprint to gain more traction and to bring people into this server specifically into the arena. That's all we're trying to do, man.
I mean, if it's specifically to bring people to me, then I'm all for it. Go out onto the streets.
Yeah, that's what we want to do.
I'm only joking.
Hang on.
Well, what about what that guy done? He made pamphlets up. That was useful.
Go on, Neil.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Bob Nodell for president.
No. What I said earlier, right? Nathan's after hitting on a lot of what I said, right? The problem we have is trying to sell ourselves to university campuses and on the street and at doors, at people's doors, blah, blah, blah. Never mind all that. Just become subject matter experts and leave them come to us. We don't go to them anymore, because when you're on that campus wanting to talk to some PhD, then you're basically stating that they are an expert and that you're begging for their time. No, leave that person who I have no interest in anymore, the majority of them, some of them, yeah, but majority of the PhDs out there and these university professors, I have no need for them. I have no interest in them. If they want to know something about what I do, then they can come to me. And when they do, I'll make sure to have the best information to give them. And that's the best advertisement you can ever give.
Totally agree. And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. It was great. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams. Hope for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!